The sponsor of today's video is Raycon wireless earbuds. Raycons give you 32 hours of battery life, active noise cancellation, and you get 90 minutes of playtime with only 10 minutes of charging. Raycon's quality rivals some of the biggest names in premium audio, and now is the perfect time to buy a pair or two if you haven't already. I keep this pair of Raycons here on my desk for my live streams and my interviews. I keep another pair in my gym bag for working out. Raycon's prices are so affordable that you can get two pair of Raycon for what you would normally pay for one pair of some of the other leading tech brands. Use my custom link buyraycon.com/SPTV to get up to 20% off everything site-wide. One of the best ways to support this channel is by supporting our sponsors. So remember, when you get your Raycons, use my custom link buyraycon.com/SPTV. Welcome back, everybody, for more SPTV, where every day is a great day not to be in a cult. All right. Speaking of being in a cult, Aaron Kyro, Braille skateboarding. We're going to have a lot of fun today. I am doing a chat. This is a live chat, so this is not a live premiere. This is actually a live stream for you in the live chat. Feel free to throw in a bunch of questions. We're going to be doing a chat with Glazer, one of the former guys at Braille. He and his fellow former Braille employees have started a YouTube channel a little while back called Dub Boys. And more recently, Ricky started his own channel where he reacts to a bunch of videos called Ricky Glazer Reacts. And Ricky has been featured prominently in, well, pretty much every video that has been done about Braille skateboarding, how Scientology destroyed Braille skateboarding, how Braille's founder, Aaron Kyro, has become the leader of Scientology in San Francisco, and pretty much all that coverage has featured Ricky. And, you know, I thought I had already done an interview with Ricky. I've even said in some of my recent videos that I had done a video with Ricky. We've never done an interview. That was a total false memory. But today we are going to do it for real. Let me bring him up. Hello, Ricky.
Yo.
Are we good? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you good.
Let's watch the bitrate, because last time I had a little problem and I had to fix something. If it doesn't get better, I might change some settings. But okay, it looks all right, right?
It looks okay. It looks okay. It's definitely more important to be able to hear you well, and I think I can hear you just fine. Guys, in the live chat, if anything gets a little wonky, just let me know, and we'll figure it out. How's everything going, Ricky?
Yeah, pretty good. I had food poisoning a couple of days ago, but other than that, good.
You know, one of the things you'll always hear when people start putting anything critical online about Scientology is you'll hear people being very worried for their safety. Have you had people reaching out to you being like, "Oh my God, are you sure you want to be doing this Scientology Aaron Kyro stuff?"
Yeah, shout out to my mom. Definitely was like, "Ricky, don't do this. Don't do it. Don't do it." But honestly, like I was a little bit hesitant to do this kind of stuff. But maybe it's interesting. Like Natalie actually reached out to me when all the Braille stuff happened, because it kind of happened, like, I think it was like 8 months ago. And then like now it's kind of getting this resurgence because of the Sunny V2. Like I say, like the mainstream story kind of caught onto it, whereas before it was kind of like maybe skate world and Scientology world, but not sort of like, I don't know, mainstream YouTube world or whatever. But yeah, like now that there's a bit more time and distance from it, I feel like I'm in a better place to kind of like talk about it a bit as well. Whereas like right as it's all happening, I'm like, oh, I don't know. I just kind of want to like navigate this without like, you know, drawing all this attention to it or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. You know, it's funny from my perspective as an ex-Scientologist. And I think other people who are ex-Scientologists will tell you, you know, there's really nothing Scientology can really do. They just really trying to get in your head. They try to get under your skin, but there's really nothing they can do. And sometimes I wonder if that's fair advice, or if we're just so used to the stuff that Scientology does to us that we're almost mismanaging expectations by telling people, don't worry about it. There's nothing they can do. I don't know. I guess it's all a matter of perspective. But have you had any heat in any way from Scientology or their online goons?
I mean, no, not really. Not in any way. Yeah, I guess like my other thing was like, now that Aaron is the executive director or whatever, is like, could he be like, this guy keeps going against Braille and me and whatever, like do something, guys. Like, I guess maybe I was a little bit somewhat concerned, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny. Like trying to describe things in Scientology, particularly something like Aaron Kyro being the leader of Scientology, it's weird because you can explain it like two different ways. Like on the one hand, he really is the leader of Scientology in San Francisco in the respect that as the executive director of the day organization in San Francisco, there is no one in San Francisco that is a more senior Scientologist than Aaron. That's just a factual statement. But in another sense, the way Scientology is organized, it's almost like it's almost like even though he's the leader of Scientology in San Francisco, he doesn't actually have power because the only one who really has power in Scientology is David Miscavige. And everyone else is just executing David Miscavige's orders. Like Aaron Kyro doesn't have like autonomous power. His power comes from being the person most responsible for getting all of David Miscavige's orders executed in San Francisco. But he doesn't have any power of his own, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess that does make sense. So like Aaron Kyro, like what I was saying to now, like he can't say like, I'm going to take a 3-day weekend. Like he can't even do that really.
No. Aaron Kyro also couldn't order the Office of Special Affairs to do anything to you. Aaron Kyro couldn't hire like he doesn't have any control over the money. Like he couldn't go get Scientology to hire a lawyer, to hire a PI to do anything to you. He couldn't order a lawsuit. Like it's weird. That's why I say like he is the leader, and that is true. But those words might mean something specific or might create an impression in people in the regular world that just in the Scientology world isn't actually true as far as what does that mean to be the leader? Like what power does that bestow upon you? And it's funny in the world of Scientology, it's like there's David Miscavige and there's everyone else.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, so there was the Sunny V2 video that sort of brought all this back into the Braille stuff, the Scientology stuff back into the mainstream conversation. Then there was the Asmongold video. One of the things you saw both, right? You reacted to both.
Yeah.
One of the things that I thought was interesting about Asmon's take on it was that whereas Scientology was one of, in the way the story played out, yes, Scientology was a key factor in the fall of the Braille skateboarding channel. But he pointed out that it seemed like there would be other contributing factors that would have brought about the downfall of the channel, even if Scientology had not been a part of the story. And I think one of the pieces he mentioned was just the fact that Aaron Kyro is just kind of a somewhat out of touch 41-year-old skateboarding, wealthy skateboarding guy when the audience, the viewers for that content are not people who would generally relate to that. What was your opinion on that?
Yeah, totally. So I actually did watch your reaction to Asmon's reaction as well. And I thought you had some interesting perspective too, where I think your sentiment was saying to the fact of like, hey, you're aging in skateboarding. Well, this is not Aaron Kyro channel. This is Braille skateboarding. So if you want to relate to the younger people, then hire some younger people, and like they can kind of be Aaron is the overall like owner of the channel, and then they're like part of the channel, the team, as like we kind of were. So I think Asmon was very right in that. And I guess Aaron, sorry, I'm gonna always try to say Kyro and call you Aaron because it makes it way easier. So Kyro was kind of like on the first generation of YouTubers too, like grew his following before monetization existed, before any type of YouTube thing existed. So like people were still trying to figure out like what is the lifespan of a creator. And I think in general, the lifespan of a creator is not up. It's like up, we hit our peak. Okay, now I guess it's down. If you go crazy and do all this bad stuff, maybe you'll go super down. But typically it kind of goes like this sort of thing. And like how long is that timeline? I think it's very difficult to like have the trajectory that you're really booming, then you make another good decision, and then really boom, then you make another decision, really boom. I think it's very hard to do that. So I think it was right. The more older you get, the less relatable you are to like the younger people. And one interesting thing when Kyro was at business school for the 2 years is his new viewers would come in and then they would watch the videos. They see the team and Gabe Cruz. Gabe Cruz was kind of like the front man kind of thing. And then Aaron comes back and they were commenting like, oh shit, there's another guy. I thought Gabe Cruz owned this channel. And to me, that was a really interesting perspective.
Wow. I mean, that what you just said even reinforces an idea that I had, which is you guys were being paid, well, a small amount of money. It doesn't make sense that Aaron wasn't willing to spend a little more money to keep the golden goose alive. It doesn't make sense, especially if he has all these obligations at the org, at the San Francisco org. It makes sense to even spend twice the money on the talent and the staff to keep the golden goose laying eggs so that he can continue to dedicate his time and attention to the org without having to figure out a way to make money, because you don't make money working for at a Scientology org, even as the executive director, even on the best week of income. And Scientology orgs tend to go like low income, spike, low. Even on the spike, even as the executive director, Kyro would be lucky to make $500. I mean, a week.
Yeah.
If he made $1,000, it would be like a once in a year event. If he made $1,000 in a week, like that would be like, it's Christmas. There's a Christmas bonus. There's an IAS bonus. There's a production bonus. Like it, and he lives in San Francisco, unless he lives in one of the suburbs. I don't actually know. Like I assume it's not his. I assume his expenses are not very low.
For sure. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy to go from like, 30 million views a month, huge sponsorships and stuff, to that. Like, I don't know. Like, I really wonder what's going to happen, because he has videos on the channel that will forever get views. People will not know about any of this stuff, and that people will still watch it, and his channel will still make some money. Like, even if the new people are all 100% negative, no views, there'll be some like lifelong videos or whatever. But like, I really wonder what he's going to do. Because like you say, if he's not making much, like he's literally going to run out of money. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. He will run out of money.
It's like so and then look, sad.
Sorry, I don't
because like
Jack can go ahead.
No, you're good. Because it's like his position in skateboarding and YouTube and everything, he kind of had like a lottery ticket, sort of. Like, I don't want to take away from the stuff he did, because he did do a lot of things right to build the skateboarding channel, irrespective of Scientology, whatever. He did a lot of things right to build up the skateboarding channel. And it's kind of like he cashed in this lottery ticket. He did good things. He made millions of dollars, right? And now for him to just crash and burn it and be like worse off when he's in this vulnerable state and Scientology recruited him in, now he's literally like way worse than that. It really does kind of like, after doing the interview with Natalie, I had way more sort of like empathy for him, I feel like.
Yeah. So, and I can understand why that would be, for sure. Everyone in Scientology is to some extent, even if you have to go far back to figure out how it's true, some extent a victim, right? They're all being tricked. They're all being lied to, and they don't know it. Now, having been an actual staff member for so long myself, and having been a SEERG member for a number of years, I don't have a ton of sympathy for Scientology executives.
For sure. And like, I'm not because trying to downplay that.
No, I know. And it's not because they're bad people. They are not bad. They're not bad people. By the way, everything I've ever heard, even all you guys say about Aaron Kyro, seems to be a good guy. He's not a bad guy. He is being tricked. He is being lied to. But I'll tell you this, he is a 100% fully dedicated true believer who would run through walls and take bullets for David Miscavige and Scientology. And I know what that feels like. And I don't have sympathy for my former self. I know exactly what that felt like. I know exactly how I got to that place. And I was essentially born and raised in it. Kyro probably didn't join Scientology until what, early 20s, late teens?
I think it was like kind of like college age, early 20s.
Yeah. This is an example of Scientology shooting themselves in the foot. Like, if you have someone who's a relative celebrity, they're out there, there's sort of a halo effect. It's almost like having a celebrity person doing commercials for you. It would have been more beneficial to Scientology for Kyro to continue to be a well-liked or well-known figure in the skateboarding world, making a bunch of money that he could continue to donate to Scientology. That's more beneficial to Scientology than convincing him to join staff, going off the flag for 2 years to do his executive training under David Miscavige, burning bridges, burning relationships, destroying his channel, destroying his income source. Any Scientologist could have become the executive director of San Francisco Day. They did not need Aaron Kyro. It doesn't make any damn sense.
Yeah. So you think do you think he kind of like sought it out to be like, yeah, I want to be respected. I want to own the, or they just say, you do this, you do what you told.
Here's why I say I don't think he sought it out. No one in Scientology seeks out these positions. No one wants to be the executive director. Nobody wants that kind of pressure on their shoulders. Nobody wants to have to be the registrar. It's such a thankless task to have to constantly be trying to get money out of Scientologists for auditing and training. You have to be sold on. You have to be sometimes against your will told that this is what you're going to do. And a certain percentage of those people will rise to the occasion and really embrace the opportunity and get, in Scientology, they call it gung-ho. I know L. Ron Hubbard didn't invent the word, but he just uses it all the time. You become a really gung-ho, dedicated staff member who rises to the occasion. And it looks like that is exactly what Kyro has done. And I got to tell you, like, I just feel like if there was anyone who knew what the hell they were doing calling the shots over there, they would have been like, hey, Kyro, in order for you to be the San Francisco executive director, part of the strategy of how we're going to make this work is how we're going to keep your channel as successful as possible at the same time. Like, because wouldn't that actually be a ringing endorsement for even this so-called business school that he said that he went to? Like, yeah. how silly is it that he went off to business school, which is it's not what it is, and it killed his business?
Yeah. There's a lot of funny like wordplay with stuff like that. But I tell you what's crazy is like, I think you've seen me retelling the story that like he sits us down for the meeting and he says, 1 week from now, I'm going to business school. He literally said in that meeting, he goes, this is either the best decision or the worst decision I'm ever going to make. Like he literally said that. And I was like, oh shit.
Wow.
So
it
yeah,
is amazing that he said that.
Yeah, that's what I think too. Like thinking back to that. Because I was like, bro, why are you leaving for so long? Like, what the hell? Like, how can you justify this in any kind of way? You know what I mean?
When he announced to you guys that he was going to go off to business school, did he say it was Scientology business school?
So, like, the dynamic with the workers is that, I guess this is what I want to ask you a little bit about too, is that there was kind of like him. Then there was a few like behind the scenes people, kind of like accounting, HR, merchandise, non-skatery people doing tasks like that. They were all kind of like Aaron's Scientology friends that he's like, oh, my business is expanding. Hey, you're my friend. Come and work for me. It was kind of like that sort of dynamic. Then there was the skaters that Aaron kind of, like me, that Aaron brought in. So it's kind of like these two sides. And then the skaters were always like, oh, it's a bit weird, whatever. We don't really know. Like there's this like divide between us kind of. So when he said business school, all of us know it's Scientology stuff. Like there's no doubt in our mind that he's going to do some legitimate business school or whatever. But also we're not like that combative either. So like maybe you could fault us a little bit for not being more combative. But he just says we're going to business school, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to learn business practices, whatever. He didn't say Scientology at all. He never mentioned like religion or Scientology or whatever. But like we all knew, we all like 100% knew that. And then we kind of talk after and be like, what the hell? This is so weird. It was funny in that meeting, Gabe's face was like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, how am I going to do this? The guy like running the channel basically, because his workload went up 1,000,000,000%. Even though his workload while Aaron was there was still really high. Yeah.
I didn't watch the video that Gabe did where he announces that he's leaving Braille. What was it that put him over the edge? Two questions here. What was it that put him over the edge that made him quit? And did he quit before Kyro came back for the last time from Flag, or before or after?
I think he made up his mind that he wanted to quit while he was gone. And then he waited for him to come back and then quit. Because Gabe, he's still like friendly with Kyro. And I'll give you like the full rundown so your audience can kind of understand. So this is just from my perspective. I don't really have like full insight. I don't want to put too much words in Gabe's mouth, but my like overall impression of the situation is Gabe was like, he'd been with the channel since he was like 15. He was like a super fan of Kyro, and he saw them out skating when they had like a few 100,000 subscribers. He like taught him how to do a trick, like a tray flip. Then he was like, oh, I'm a video editor. I love video editing. And then they kind of like built the relationship up. Then he kind of like worked his way up to becoming like a loyal worker for Braille and had like a high position or whatever. And then I guess when Kyro left, it was really a shit show. and morale was really low, and like we were getting underpaid and overworked, I guess. So then we're all just like, well, what do we care if the video is good? It's like, it's hard for us to really try and care when like all this stuff's going to shit and like the boss is just ghost mode for months and months and months and months and months and months, you know? So like we went through a difficult time, and I guess Gabe trying to get us to do stuff was also going through a difficult time. Then in his personal life, he like turned 25 or whatever. I think what he said is like he got kicked off his parents' health insurance. So he was kind of like, shit, I got to become an adult. Like, I'm going to propose to my girlfriend. Like, I'm going to become an adult now. So he kind of, I guess he felt like he didn't see a future with Braille the way that it was going. And he's like, I got to just get a normie real job and then like go forward that way. So he quit to just literally get like a boring job, not even like a creator space job. He could have got a good other YouTube job saying, these are my qualifications. But he was just like, I'm done with creator world. Like, I just want to get a normie job. And then just fully quit like that. But then, yeah, he's still on like good graces with like sort of with the boys and sort of with Aaron, I guess. He's really trying to like walk the line. But he comes back in the videos now. If you look at Aaron's channel, you can see he's in it. I would think that he's not paid or anything. He's just like, hey, friend to another, help me film a video. Everything's turned to shit. I was always loyal to you. I think it's something like that. So it is kind of interesting. All the sort of the core Braille people are like pretty upset with Gabe doing that. And I would say I feel kind of like mixed about it. I'm like not super supportive of that.
Of him going back and doing stuff with Kyro?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's a strange one there. Also, I'm surprised that Kyro either wants to or is allowed to continue to do content with someone who's connected to you when you're out there talking to people like me and Natalie.
Yeah. So now I'm really sunk. But I do wonder though, is like basically anyone in skate world will interact with me and Aaron. Does that mean if they interact with me in any way, Aaron can never interact with them?
Technically, no. Technically, no. Also, technically, you're not an SP, but you're in that gray area.
Yeah.
You're right on the line.
That's what I was asking Natalie too. SP is more reserved for like, was Scientologists become not, whereas I'm like PTS, right?
Yes. So they'd call you PTS if you're connected to an SP. And it's true. These days, they only declare former Scientologists SPs. But even then, like historically in Scientology, if you're not officially declared a suppressive person in writing on a piece of paper that's published, then you're not one. But things have changed so much over the last 20 years in Scientology, mainly because of the internet, and they get embarrassed when things get leaked and exposed and posted and all that kind of stuff, that even in the world of Scientology, they have, to a certain extent, stopped officially publishing these things. And they'll say, you know, if this person has done something that violates the policy and it's a suppressive act, then you have to treat them like an SP, even if they're not declared officially an SP. So, you know, for example, Aaron basically, Kyro basically disconnected from you. There's no reason to disconnect from someone unless you consider them an SP. There's no reason, right? You were not antagonistic to him or Scientology. You were not antagonistic to Braille. You had legitimate concerns, legitimate beefs. That is not the same thing as being antagonistic. And he could have easily sorted things out with you by just talking to you and being upfront and honest. So I do feel he is treating you like you're an SP. Yeah. And as such, someone who just meets you or is socially connected to you is not someone Kyro would also disconnect from, but someone who's like intimately connected with you and is a public supporter and collaborator with you. That is someone I would expect Kyro to disconnect from. I mean, after all, that's how he disconnected from you. I think, I think he got a sense that you were like at least flirting with anti-Scientology content on the internet, and he just drew a hard line there, is kind of how I read that situation.
Yeah, I guess too. And like the other worker, Nigel Jones, his, like when stuff was happening to him, he was a bit more like maybe like emotional and saying like, oh, Aaron is a piece of shit. He did this. It's a fucking Scientology guy, blah, blah, blah. He was more of that tone, where I was a little bit more of like, this is what's been happening. I'm unhappy with this, blah, blah. I feel like I had a little bit more of like a civil tone. Like you said, we could have easily worked it out if we kind of like had a conversation. And even the whole thing, like I never got fired. That's what's interesting. Aaron never said, fuck you, you're fired, Ricky. He just blocked. And then it's like, the Scientology way of disconnect, which like, I mean, I guess makes sense. But like you said, I never said Scientology this, Scientology that. I was just giving him legitimate concerns of Braille.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Totally. Just strategically, the way this whole thing's been handled by Kyro and even the people managing Kyro just doesn't make any sense at all. Like even the whole, let me take a step back. Prior to him going off to Scientology business school, quote unquote, would he be open and upfront with you guys about him being a staff member at his local Scientology organization?
So in general, this is what I mean. The dynamic was a little bit weird because like he wouldn't say, hey guys, no filming Monday. I gotta go to Scientology to work. He wouldn't say stuff like that, but we all knew that somehow. It was kind of just like, oh, well, we can't do it on a weekday because he's busy. And maybe if you really asked him, like, I remember there was a little kid, JD, he was like up and coming vert skater. He's like been absolutely killing it, winning medals at X Games and stuff recently. But his dad was like, hey, come to this competition. He's got a really big competition, like film it for Braille, it'd be so good. And then Aaron's like, when is it? He's like, well, it's on Friday. And he's like, I can't do that. It was kind of like stuff like that. Whereas like, he wouldn't say I must go to work, but it was sort of like known, I guess.
Didn't his reluctance to just openly communicate with you guys about the fact that, yeah, I'm a Scientologist. Yeah, I'm on staff, Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. That's kind of my number one thing that I like. What did his reluctance to just be completely comfortably open with you guys about it contribute to the idea that there's something weird and culty about it?
So with me personally is like, I would hang out with him and his wife. Like we would go to dinner and stuff. And like a little bit of history on me for your audience is like, I grew up in Australia. Then Braille was very successful in skateboarding before all this went wrong. I was just doing my own content stuff in skateboarding. And then I collaborated with Braille when I went on a trip to the US and he goes, hey, move here. I'll get you the visa. I'll move you out here. So, I was obviously very grateful for the opportunity to be able to move here and like to do all this content skateboarding and kind of like build a career for myself as well. So I'd hang out with him and his wife and like we'll go to dinner and stuff. And then I feel like he was a little bit more open with me about Scientology. Whereas like the vibe was he wouldn't say Scientology stuff unless I brought it up kind of. But occasionally we would talk about it and he would occasionally say like, hey, you have any questions about it? You can ask me questions. And then like, I wouldn't really know what to say in that moment. But there was one with his wife. She goes, oh, what? You want to ask me a question? I said to his wife, I was like, when people comment on the Braille vid that has nothing to do with Scientology and they comment like, fuck you, you Scientologist, blah, 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 all negative stuff about Scientology. I said like, how does that make you feel to see that they do that? And she said something to the effect of like, I know what I'm doing is good. Like I'm saving people. Like I'm on the front lines, literally saving people. I know it's good. Doesn't matter what they say. Something kind of like that. But I mean, in general, like, did that give me weird vibes? To answer your original question, I would say like maybe a little bit. When I first moved, I guess maybe I didn't know that much about Braille, but I did know Aaron was Scientologist. And honestly, I had seen some of your videos before I moved and joined to Braille. So maybe you would be interested to hear about that. Is that like, I remember watching one, because I feel like you made some videos and then like sort of your like career as a creator came later on, right? Like there was like a bit of a gap from like the very first videos on your channel. I think I watched some videos in that first period of time. And I remember watching it and you were saying stuff like you would be at the org and you would see the higher people and you're like, wow, they actually have power. Like you were thinking like, wow, they actually have powers, but they don't want to flex it all. Or like something to that sentiment. I remember something like that. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, wow, that's crazy. But then when I get the job opportunity from Aaron, I'm like, okay, this guy's involved with Scientology. Does he think he has powers? Is he high ranking dude? Like, is he doing all this crazy stuff? I guess I just naively was like, he's just some guy that is in Scientology, whatever. I guess that was my, like, I don't know, mistake or whatever, is that I was a little bit dismissive of that. And I was kind of more like, hey, whatever religion, I'm not going to judge, like, live and let live. That was kind of my stance. And I feel like maybe you have interesting things to say about that. But anyway, let me try to answer your actual question was, when did I get the weird vibes? Is when I first moved, then I'm like, he's doing this successful YouTube channel, posting every day. Surely he's filming every day at the warehouse. Then when I come to learn, he films one day, Saturday, and Monday to Friday, he's at Scientology. I was like, what the fuck? Like, that's weird. Like, maybe we should focus the energy onto the channel that's generating all this money, doing all this stuff. Why are you going to church 5 days a week? Like, doesn't really make sense. So that was probably my first, like, where I was like, huh, wow, maybe he is really deep into this.
Can you imagine how successful the channel would be if he actually focused on it 5 to 7 days a week, like most like high level creators do?
It's like, it's really sad to think about. And like, he could have done great things for skateboarding. Like, honestly, Aaron Kyro probably has the title of at least top 2 or 3 taught most people how to ollie and taught most people how to kickflip. Maybe Tony Hawk's #1, but I think Aaron will be #2, like either #1 or #2, which is like, it's kind of crazy that this was the guy that has taught the most people how to kickflip, like in terms of views or whatever. It's like, damn. And now it's like all gone to shit like this. It's like, it's really sad.
So Kairo's thing of uploading a video every single day, he was able to do that by just recording everything on Saturday?
Yeah. So basically in his peak time, it was kind of like, it's kind of like this 2015 to 2018 era, maybe like a little bit before. Whereas back then, it was kind of like the Casey Neistat vlog era. Whereas like, if you were a big creator and you post every day, it doesn't really matter how trashy the content was. You're hitting the algorithm, you're getting like really, really good views. So what the filming schedule would be is on Saturday, we filmed 7 videos. This was like a little bit before my time as well. I moved there in 2020. So I moved there after the channel's already like on the gradual decline. But he goes on Saturday, he's like, all right, we've got 7 videos lined up. One is a glass skateboard. One is a game of skate. One is we're going to go to the skate park. One is this other skateboard. And then they'd film 7 videos, boom, the filming's done. And then they would upload the videos. Then when he got the team, it kind of alleviated a little bit. Whereas like on the Saturday when he was there, would film like the more important videos. And then during the week, we would film like the lower, lesser important videos. But for a long time, he just did the 7 video model.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it is. Honestly, looking at from the outside in now, it's like, damn, Braille really got so successful, like literally doing the least, like doing the absolute least. Like, how? In skating as well. Like, I saw, do you have any like connection to skating? Because I thought your assessments were pretty good. Yeah, how you saying like, oh, he's kind of a pro, kind of respected, but maybe also kind of like a little bit not. That was pretty accurate. Whereas they kind of like, he was considered like a YouTube sort of pro. Like, he was legitimately good at skating, but he's not an X Games skater or whatever. He's kind of like this YouTube, you know, I'm the coach, I'm the relatable, friendly guy. Like, you want to learn skating, come with me. You want to see wacky skating, come with me. So the kind of like the really dedicated core skaters kind of like would look down upon that a little bit. And then sort of the Scientology thing in the background, he had like not a bad rep, but just he would be like a little bit the butt of the joke sometimes too. So yeah, it's crazy that he was the guy that like had this huge hold over skateboarding and just like was doing the least and spending all this time and money in Scientology. Like, how? Like, that's motivation for anyone else to make it.
Would he ever, was there ever a point where he just sort of sat the Braille guys down and is like, hey guys, I understand the Scientology thing's got a bit of a weird reputation. I don't want to hide the fact that I'm a Scientologist, but I also want you guys to know I'm never going to talk about it. I'm never going to bring it up. I'm never going to try to get you guys into Scientology. If you have questions, obviously ask me, but that's my private. Like, I'm talking about being open about not being open about it. Like just getting rid of the awkwardness, getting rid of people chattering. Like, did he ever just try to be open like that?
No, not really. I would say the vibe was always kind of awkward. He would occasionally say to me personally, he would say, if you have questions, ask me. He wouldn't say that in like the group setting there. But it was always kind of awkward. And I remember there'll be weird situations where like we would just be watching videos, like just hanging out. Cause like we were friends, you know, hanging out. He's watching like a TikTok or whatever that's like hating on him. And then it switches to like Scientology and then he just like turns it off, you know? And then it's like, what do I say when I see that? You know, it's just like, oh, okay, cool. You know what I mean? He's like, okay, enough of that. It's like, I don't know. A lot of the stuff was very much in that sort of awkward realm where like, maybe we should have pushed back more. Maybe we should have said like, what the fuck? But I don't know.
Well, I don't even think so. I mean, it's not the responsibility of non-Scientologists to give Scientologists a hard time about what they're doing, like especially in a work environment that wouldn't even be appropriate. Like, I don't think you guys did anything wrong, that's for sure.
Yeah,
you know,
I would kind of get heat for the skaters say like, Ricky, why do you work for this Scientology company, blah blah. They say you're in the videos, The videos are making money. Aaron makes money from the company. Then Aaron gives money to Scientology. They say, Ricky, you are directly enabling Scientology. And like, I mean, I guess that is kind of a legitimate concern. But I would say, like, as long as they're separate, if Braille skateboarding is doing good things in skateboarding, then I feel like that's its own thing. If Aaron Kyro's personal money that he makes from his company, he's doing Scientology, that's kind of on him, is what I felt like. But then, like, what I say is why it exploded is because those things couldn't be separate and it, like, imploded. But, like, I don't know, maybe that's cope. Like, the skaters would say, oh, you're defending Scientology, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I guess my stance in general is pretty, like, accepting or whatever. But I know, like, you got to draw the line somewhere kind of thing, too.
It's funny. I can totally see both perspectives. And for the most part, I tend to have the perspective of what the guy does with his money as his business. But the more time goes on, the more I move over to the other perspective of like, yeah, if once it becomes publicly known that the guy's donating millions of dollars to Scientology because of the revenue from the channel, I can totally understand people in the skate world working for the channel getting saddled with that reputation. And I think it's fair. I think it's fair. It's weird. Yeah. It's kind of a slippery slope, though, of like, so we're not supposed to work for a guy because he's donating money to the church he's a part of. It's kind of like, well, yeah, if the church has a reputation for being a family destroying human trafficking cult, it might be a problem. But like someone's going to go, but what if he was a Catholic or what if he was Jewish? And you go, okay, well, Scientology's not those things, but you know, I can, like I said, you can make an argument either way.
Yeah. How do
you feel about it now?
I don't know. Well, like what I said, I watched your video before and I knew he's Scientologist and I willingly went. It's like, should I have gone back in time and not go? My life would look very different if I never moved to America and stayed in Australia. Also, through Braille skateboarding, I met my beautiful girlfriend as well, fiance. We're going to get married later. So like, you know, that was nice too. She was an Olympic snowboarder and that's how she was in the Braille bits. It's like snowboarder learns how to skate and then like kind of stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I feel like conflicted about it maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anything that you did is wrong for what it's worth.
I mean... oh yeah, sorry. I remember my sentiment that I was going to say. It's even funnier in skateboarding because there's kind of like three big, like, you know, skateboarding changed with social media as many things in the world. It changed in kind of a weird way, but there's like three big camps, right? There was Braille skateboarding, family friendly, kiddie show, learn to skate vibe. Then there was the Berrics. Berrics was more high-level professional skating, come to our private skate park. And then there was Thrasher, which was more high-level skating out in the streets kind of thing. There's these three big camps. And like for Braille to be competing with them was pretty interesting. But anyway, the Berrics, if all the other pros or I've done videos with the Berrics too. Berrics is owned by Eric Koston and Steve Berra. Steve Berra is also Scientologist. Steve Berra is not high-level executive or whatever. I think he went clear, like maybe we can look up what his official thing was. But he's Scientologist too. And it's like two of the three things a Scientologist. Why? Like, why is skating in this? So I guess what I say for that is like, if anyone would, what I would say is if someone criticized me for working for Braille, you should criticize every other skater that ever went to the Berrics. Because it's like, it's kind of the same. Like maybe he's not donating as much, maybe he's not as high, but it's still like, I guess it's like similar argument, I guess.
It's totally true. And I have no idea how Steve Berra got into Scientology. I wonder if it's through Jason Lee.
I think he married a Scientologist too. I think they're broken up now, but I think that was something like that as well.
Well, yeah, he married Juliette Lewis, but that doesn't explain how he got into Scientology. Like, yeah, just because he married Juliette Lewis doesn't mean that's how she got, that like meeting her is how he got into Scientology. Oh yeah, he's done a lot of Scientology and he's done a lot of the higher expensive levels here in Clearwater, Florida, as recently as 10 years ago. And starting as early as 27 years ago. So like he's been to the Ship, he's been to the Celebrity Center, he's been to Flag, and all of his most recent stuff has been here at Flag in Clearwater, Florida. So he's
what was the most recent date? You said 10 years ago, so 2015.
The most recent date is 10 years ago, but it was also like some of the higher, most expensive levels.
Yeah, it's funny, and like to skaters, this is the funniest thing to ever to imagine. But like Steve Berra was actually a legitimate pro. like sort of in the early 2000s, Tony Hawk has this team, and like Steve Berra is like on the team in the video on the tour. Like he's like kind of like a top professional skater. And then Aaron Kyro is more this YouTube goofy skater guy. In some world, is Steve Berra saying, damn, Aaron Kyro is way higher than me. Like, I wish I could get as high as him in Scientology. Like, is that how he feels? Like, is he like jealous?
No, he wouldn't be jealous.
Okay.
Public Scientologists aren't really jealous of each other just by virtue of how high they are on the bridge. And remember, being the bridge and where you're at on the bridge is different than where you're at on staff or in the C organization.
Yeah.
So like, you know, Steve Berra has done all of his lower expanded grades. He's attested to the state of clear. He's done all 3 of the L rundowns, and he's done the superpower rundown. Like, by any normal standard, Steve Berra is a pretty, you know, there's words people use when talking about Scientology that Scientologists don't use. So a Scientologist would never say that someone's a high level Scientologist. That's just not a word that's just not a word that exists, right? But the fact that he's clear and has done all 3 Ls and has done superpower, he is a seasoned veteran Scientologist, is what they would say.
Just for the skaters out there, I know I liked what you said when Kyro had the confirmed 1 million donations. And then you said, well, including all the other stuff, we can extrapolate. It's probably more like 2 million, right? If Steve's done the 3 L rundowns, those were the expensive ones, right? They were the hundreds of thousands of dollars ones. So if Steve's done the 3 L rundowns, what's his estimated total? If we're saying Kyrie's is estimated 2 million, what's Steve Berra's estimated total?
Because all I'm looking at here is what bridge steps that he's done, and it doesn't include any of his other donations. I'm looking at these bridge steps. He's easily $500,000 in just on the bridge.
Yeah.
And, you know, that doesn't include his IAS donations or anything else. So, like, is it possible that Steve has donated, all told, to various Scientology causes $1 million? Absolutely. Is it possible that Kyro's up to closer to 2 million of total money spent on Scientology? Absolutely. It's amazing that Steve Berra doesn't get the same kind of heat. But, you know, I think the reason Kyro's getting so much heat is because it's literally destroyed his channel, his business, his income, his reputation.
Totally.
What was Berra's, like, look, I got no familiarity with the skate world. So if you're saying Berra was part of Tony Hawk's team and everything like that, what's his reputation now in the skate world?
Yeah, so I guess I would say Berra, that the Tony Hawk stuff was early on. Then now he's kind of like later in his career, I guess, kind of tying back to what Sunny V2 was saying. Then he started running the business side of like running the skate park and showcasing newer, younger pros. And he was like the overseer. So it's Steve Berra, and then his name is, it's called the Berrics, and his name is Steve Berra. And then the other guy that runs is Eric Koston. I believe Eric Koston is also in Scientology. Aaron Kyro told me that. But skaters are mind blown when they hear that, because Eric Koston was one of the biggest skaters. But I don't know if there's too much confirmed information of like how high he was.
If Aaron said it, it's true.
Yeah, well, that's what I say too. Yeah. There was like speculation, but I don't think anything was super confirmed. But anyway, Steve Berra.
Let me try to search for something. What's his name?
Eric Koston, Koston.
And you haven't been able to find anything online about his Scientology?
I just found on like skateboarding message boards talking about it, but there was no like Scientology kind of leak stuff.
Interesting. I'm just going to do one quick little search here and see if I can find something.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be super interesting if you could.
Because you might, I can understand people being like, oh my God, there must be some huge skateboarding Scientology connection. Or I got to tell you, Scientology's not looking to go after like, Scientologists are very sort of elitist in their views of what is considered acceptable behavior, lifestyles, or personalities. And I could tell you that in my personal opinion, Scientologists are not looking to tap the skateboarding market. It's nice for commercials. It's nice for promo. It's nice to look like we're cool and young and hip. But I'm going to stop short of saying that Scientology is like, they're really hungry for that skateboarding market.
Yeah.
They're not.
But skateboarders also broke too. Like, I love skateboarders, they're my people, but they got no money. They got no money to give.
That's right. That would be one big example of why. the same would be true, but then you're like, how did they get Jason Lee? So was Jason Lee considered an important name in the skateboarding world?
So this is what I mean is like, why? Like, why did the skate connections run so deep? I feel like it's so random. But yes, Jason Lee is very influential skateboarder. So like I said, Berra was early 2000s, respected per. Jason Lee was in like kind of like the 80s, and he's kind of seen as like one of the early pioneers of like sort of street skating. So he's like super, super, super respected. And he honestly never gets heat for Scientology. From what I understand, he quit. I don't know if he's actively been against them or not.
He's officially out. He's never spoken against them, and I don't think he ever will.
Yeah, just because he wants to keep the ties to his family and that kind of stuff is what I would assume, right?
Well, no, I think he was the only one in his family who was actually in Scientology. So Raycon 19D says Jason Lee popularized the 360 flip. And yes, Lydia von Stretchclaw says the Ethan Suplee connection. Yeah, so obviously, you know, Jason Lee was, he eventually got his own TV show. My Name is Earl. Huge Scientologist Ethan Suplee was his co-star. So they're very good friends. I wonder if these skateboarders are getting catfished into Scientology by hot Scientology chicks.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, honestly. But yeah, I feel like
not catfished, honeypotted.
I just wanted to say one more thing with the Berra and Kyro thing is like, I feel like if there was some article that said Steve Berra donates $500,000 to Scientology, I feel like that article of Kyro, I feel like that had such a big impact. I feel like if there was stuff about Berra, it would be really interesting too, because I feel like he's a bit more like under the radar with it.
Yeah. I would like, and if someone like a Steve Berra is out of Scientology, then what I say to these guys is, then say it. Like Jason Lee said it. Beck, you know, Beck is a guy who grew up in Scientology, the musician Beck. He said he's not in Scientology anymore. Now he sort of pretends like he was never in, so it's sort of a loophole for him to say he's not a Scientologist, but not to publicly depart Scientology. He's like, yeah, that was my dad's thing. That was my parents' thing. And I grew up around it, but it was never really my thing. Jason Lee has straight up said he's no longer involved in Scientology anymore. And so it's like, so if the most recent evidence I can find for Steve Berra is 10 years old, and if Berra wants to avoid the sort of disaster that Kyro's gotten himself into, then it's like, just say what Jason Lee said. Just say what, wait. I guess, you know, did Juliette Lewis and Steve Berra have kids together? That would be one reason why.
I think so.
That would be one reason why Berra would not want to say anything. But you know, I don't know. It's a weird thing. That's the downside of being involved in a family destroying human trafficking cult is, even when you're no longer a member, their policies and their procedures still have a big impact on your own life and your own behavior and your own relationships. And I mean, that's all the evidence you need of how destructive Scientology is, that even when you're no longer a member, you got to watch what the hell you say.
Yeah, totally.
Let me see. I know I had another question here. Yeah. So the business school. Did what were you going to say?
Oh, sorry. Go with your one first. I got a couple questions here.
Sure. So when he talked about having to go off to business school, did he say this was something he was like doing for the channel, or did he say it was something he was doing for the church?
He said it was for him to learn how to structure the business better or whatever. Him to take the business to the next level kind of position. That's how he said it.
Did you guys ever ask him, hey, how come you're never able to even call us while you're at so-called business school? How come we never hear from you?
Yeah, so I said to him, so the 2-year gone of business school, it was like he originally said 5 months. It took about 7 or 8. He came back for maybe like a week or so, then left again. And then I think he came back one more time, then left again. And then in the rest of the time is like ghost mode. When he came back the first time, I said to him, bro, you're blowing it. Like, you're losing everyone. Like, this is not going to fly. Like, you're doing this really, really badly. Gabe has to do everything. Morale is like all-time low. I said, like, you're fucking up. Like, if you have to go again, you have to like have meetings or like be involved. And like, there's no way you can just go and ghost again. And he just said something to the effect of like, yeah, you're probably right. He just said something like that and then just left and did the exact same thing. And then I was like, okay, what the fuck? So like, I mean, I guess I figured like, I guess he can't. But then I'm like, man, like, like, this is kind of messed up. He's just, when he left, I was like, yeah, this is super fried. I was like, I was kind of, I don't know. I guess I was kind of like thinking what I'm going to do next. I was kind of just like, let's see how it all plays out, sort of thing. I guess I was kind of passive. But then when I saw your video again with you, I think it's like 11 months ago, you can see on your channel, the live stream, Kyro promoted to executive director. When I saw that, I was like, what the fuck? That's what he's been doing? Like, that's what he's been doing? Because I guess I thought more it's like he was doing, even if he's going OT level, whatever. Like, I thought it was something for him. I didn't think it was like going higher for the other business. You know, oh, I'm going to business school. Yeah, now I'm the highest of this other thing not related to skating at all. Like, bro, what the hell? 2 years wasted.
So you
like,
really had no idea that this was something he was doing specifically for Scientology.
Well, I mean, I just thought it was more like, it's like his spiritual journey. You know, I know he does auditing, and like, don't they do the self-auditing at the high levels? Literally just sit and hold the things by yourself locked in the room, right?
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah. I thought he's doing shit like that, you know, I don't know, trying to enlighten himself or whatever. I didn't think he was like literally trying to get better at his other job effectively.
Amazing. Amazing. Did you guys ever wonder why he had to go to Clearwater, Florida for this business school, when if he wanted to go to business school, there's business schools everywhere?
Yeah, I mean, we just knew like that's the way it is or whatever, I guess. Because we knew Clearwater is like the place. It was funny. That was a funny interaction with the other skaters where one time he had like some kind of obligation where he had to like do some kind of skating thing. And then he was at this really random looking skate park. It was while he was at business school. And he went to this really weird looking skate park. And I said, I guarantee you, if I Google Clearwater base and look for the closest skate park, I promise you that's where it is. And then it was. I was like, yeah, obviously.
Oh my God. He actually recorded a skate video while he was in Clearwater?
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's surprising. Like, I was crazy to hear the thing. I'm pretty sure it was you that said it, where it's like David Miscavige wants to have the illusion that the place is really busy. So he made them sleep in the day and do the work at night. Oh, it's too busy during the day. You got to come at night. That's insane. Like, that's really wild. Like, you can see it in his face. Like, the people say like, wow, he's aged 10 years in this last like few years.
Yeah. I think in one of the videos I saw you do, it gave me the impression that you might have thought him doing the business school was doing OT 7 and 8 or something like that. But you know, that's not what it was, right?
Yeah. I thought, because I think it was confirmed he's OT 7. I was like, oh, a 2-year thing. He's probably trying to get to 8. Like, I guess that's what I thought. Yeah.
So he's on OT 7. OT 8 you do on the ship, and it only takes a couple weeks. Okay. It's OT 7 that takes years and years and years. And he would not, getting onto OT 7 is not what he was there for. He was there to study the new management volumes that David Miscavige was releasing. And I suspect that he actually finished early, but you're not allowed to go home until every member of your team is ready to go home.
Yeah. And
that in order to kill time, they had him get onto OT 7 is my guess.
Okay, because he did say that. He said, oh, yeah, I've done, but I have to wait for the rest of the group. He said a few things like that. But what I would love to know, Aaron, maybe you can offer insight into this. He's studying for 2 years. David Miscavige wrote it. What is he reading? What does it say? Like, what does it say? Like, 2 years worth of reading is a lot of shit. Like, what does it actually say?
So David Miscavige didn't write any of it.
Okay.
And none of the stuff that he was reading was even new. So have you ever looked up online and looked up what Scientology's green volumes and the red volumes look like?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. There's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the 3 management volumes. There's 11 giant fat volumes of policies that L. Ron Hubbard wrote. And these 11 volumes have between 500 and 1,000 pages in them each. And they're not like small pages. They're like, Scientology calls it fool's cap size paper. So they're not like normal book size volumes. They're like extra large size volumes. And these policy letters were organized in volumes by division. based on Scientology's organizing board, right? So division 1 is like HR. Division 2 is like sales. Division 3 is accounting. Division 4 is operations. Division 5 is quality control. And Division 6 is essentially new business development. And then Division 7 is the executive division. So the policies were organized by the division that the policy was most applicable to, okay? Then there was another series of volumes that took some of the most important policies and published them in their own series. David Miscavige decided that one of the reasons Scientology orgs have been struggling is that nobody has truly understood these policies before, or at least has never truly understood the picture the policies are trying to paint, because they were not organized and they were not studied in a way that lent themselves to being truly conceptually understood. I'm not kidding. So Miscavige basically spent 20 years, or it took him 20 years. That doesn't mean he spent 20 years doing it, reorganizing the policies in a different sequence.
That's crazy.
And you have to understand, we're talking like maybe 10,000 pages of policy letters. He reorganized their sequence and then said the new breed of Scientology executive is going to come to Flag, where everything at Flag is supposed to be more perfect than any other organization. And they're going to study the new volumes in the right sequence 4 times over.
Okay.
They're going to study it all the way through 4 times. Okay. And they're all going to get a ton of auditing, a ton of security checking. They're all going to do superpower. They're going to do all these things. Okay. And that's why it took so long.
That's insane. So he's just literally reading like kind of nonsense.
Yes.
4 times. It's like
Yes.
he's in detention where you like write the school rules out.
Yes. Yes. And when you're done, you've got to wait for every one of the other members of your team to finish the same thing. So you're only as fast as your slowest member.
Do you know how much this like 2-year thing would have cost, Aaron?
It wouldn't have cost him anything.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I had a question. Oh yeah, that was the second time you said the word superpowers. I'm dying to know. Like I said in your thing, you said you would look at the high OTs and be like, they have powers, but they don't use them. Does Kyro think he has powers? Think other people have powers? Think he can achieve powers? Think he's supposed to have powers, or he's not activating? Like, what's going on?
Yes. So the powers that they mostly think that they have, well, first of all, a certain sense of telepathy. Okay. Because at their confidential auditing levels, they're telepathically communicating with the spirits that are stuck to their body. Okay. Called body thetans. And so all Scientologists who are on or have done the OT levels do think that they are telepathic. Okay. They do. L. Ron Hubbard always sort of implies that you're also supposed to have telekinesis, but nobody really believes that. Like, because there's no evidence for it. You know, that's moving things with your mind. What they consider to be a power is basically, Scientologists would call it making your postulates stick. So a postulate, there's the technical Scientology words, but then there's what they actually mean. It's basically making a wish and having it come true. So it's like a decision. It's a decision. You're not manifesting. It's manifesting. It's exactly what it is. It's manifesting and have it come true. And Scientologists will tell these funny stories about their OT powers, like they stopped time. Like, I was 5 minutes late for work and it takes me an hour to get there, and I got there with a minute left because I stopped time. And you're like, dude, you forgot to turn your clock back or something. It's like, or I was in a car accident and the car, I saw the car flipping towards me and I stopped time and I moved the car this way and then it just passed me, and you're like, oh my God, this is the level of delusion that Scientologists eventually end up with. They're lying to themselves and they're lying to everyone else. But to a large extent, they are lying to themselves. They're trying to convince themselves that they've had these gains that L. Ron Hubbard said these auditing levels are supposed to give you. And so, you know, they don't have superpowers like flying or breathing underwater or superhuman strength or anything like this. But okay, so the superpower rundown is an auditing action that L. Ron Hubbard said, you don't have 5 perceptics, you have like 56 perceptics. something like 56 perceptics. And it includes things like detecting the saline content of your cells, or the position of your body in space, or oiliness, or whatever. And so Scientology management, you spent a ton of money creating machines to practice and test each one of these 56 perceptics. Okay. And these machines were only put to use for the first time in Scientology's huge building in downtown Clearwater, that they call, and this is why they call it this, the Superpower Building. Because the Superpower Rundown was only officially released once at the grand opening of the Superpower Building. And this is how Miscavige used this as a fundraising tool. He said, the Superpower auditing rundowns are the key to clearing planet Earth. And we can only release the rundowns when we finish the building. And so we have to open the building so that we can release the rundowns. The funny thing is, that was over 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. Scientology is smaller today than it was when they released, Superpower 15 years ago or whatever it was. But that's where the word superpower comes from. It's the Superpower auditing rundowns and the Superpower Building. And Kyro and Steve Berra have both done Superpower.
That's so crazy.
But as far as other superpowers, Scientologists will convince themselves that they can exteriorize from their body at will. They call it going exterior or exteriorizing. And it's just basically having an out-of-body experience, but doing it consciously and intentionally, and like with full perception. So like leaving your body and being able to see everything outside of your body. And it's like, it's one of the most common things Scientologists are supposed to eventually be able to do. And it's one of the biggest things Scientologists lie to each other about all the time, of being and going exterior.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that, because you could kind of just imagine you're doing that and then think that it's real or whatever.
That's right. Or imagine that you're like kind of about to faint and you convince yourself it's because you're exterior.
Yeah.
The
other thing I want to ask that's tied on to this kind of like supernatural style is, one of my last interactions with Kyro is we went on this skate trip, like basically just before all this popped off. And he actually broke his ankle. He broke his ankle in a way that he had to have surgery. And I was wondering if he thought, or if Scientology was telling him, that the reason this, like maybe a few weeks after when everything popped off, that the reason all this happened to him is because he was hanging around with me, the PTS, and that the whatever divine intervention caused him to break his ankle. And it wasn't his skateboarding era, which skateboarding is inherently very dangerous, obviously. It was the, I don't know, the Thetans or whatever.
When did this occur? Was he in the middle of his training?
No, so this was like post training and like just before everything like ending, basically.
This was after he came back from his training?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That would have been a huge deal.
That's so crazy.
Huge deal. Not only because it would indicate that he is in touch with suppressive influences, but it also would tend to indicate that there was something wrong with his auditing that he had done at Flag.
Okay.
And they would approach it potentially from both angles. But Scientology wouldn't necessarily come to him and say, these are the people that are the suppressive influences and cause you to do that. They create the environment where he's supposed to figure that out on his own. Like, he's going to then have to figure out who is the source of suppression. And the most obvious answer is going to be the people at Braille who are giving him shit for having gone to Flag or not paying enough attention to the channel or anything like this. Because any external influence that tends to minimize the importance of Scientology, or that will potentially get someone to reconsider their level of dedication to Scientology, is pretty much like the most suppressive type of influence. And so the fact that that occurred after he came back from Flag and after he was on post would have been a huge, huge deal. How long after that did he disconnect from you?
Like, he broke the ankle. That was the last time I seen him. Then he demolished the warehouse. If you watch the video of him like talking about the warehouse being demolished, he's like on crutches. And then he disconnected from me maybe like a week or two after that, I think. So probably like 2 weeks. Like he came back, we went on the trip, broke the ankle, then demolished the warehouse and disconnect.
Oh yeah, those are absolutely related events.
Damn. But I feel like being a Scientology skateboarder is so dangerous because in skateboarding, you always break your wrist, you always roll your ankle. Like shit like that's just always going to eventually happen. So it's like you're risking if you're a Scientologist.
Imagine the mind fuck also of basically being indoctrinated to believe that also, as long as you're not connected to sources of suppression, you can't have an accident.
Yeah, like he'll do something crazy, but then he will have an accident. And then he'll be like, oh no, I need more auditing or whatever.
Exactly. That's wild. You know, I saw you asked Natalie the question of whether she thought that the Braille channel itself or the type of videos that Kyro did on the channel were somehow intentionally designed to bring young people into Scientology. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah,
so I also kind of asked her, like, I was saying that if you go to Braille, I think now still, but even back then, if you would type like Scientology, Xenu, obviously, like any kind of buzzwords about that, they're all like blocked in the comments. But as well, like I noticed that Kyro used to be like featured on the SF Scientology Instagram and stuff. And then it seemed there was like a noticeable shift where he said, hey, please unfollow me. Please don't post me. Please don't do anything like that. It seemed like, you know, for whatever motivation, he's trying to keep them separate. Like you spoke about his interview when you said a loyal Scientologist would look at him and say, why isn't he proud of Scientology? Why isn't he trying to recruit more people? I thought we were on this mission to save the world or whatever. Why isn't he doing that? I guess like I was curious on like, what do you think his motivation is there? Because I personally, like when I came to the job and stuff, if they ever said, hey, Ricky, just say join Scientology. Hey, we're going to put join Scientology in the description. We're going to do if they did anything like that, I'm instantly done. You know, like I'm out unbelievably quickly. But like, I feel like if they're not doing that, then I don't know, that like caused me to be like, oh, everything's sort of like, okay. What do you think about his mindset and kind of like disassociating skateboarding from Scientology related stuff?
Good arguments can be made on both sides of this thing. I will start by just giving my succinct, specific opinion that I do not believe the Braille channel or its content was intended to be a vehicle to get people into Scientology. But I can argue this both ways, and I guess it's just important to understand the whole landscape on how Scientology thinks about people like Aaron or Tom Cruise for that matter, John Travolta for that matter. Okay, fundamentally, all Scientologists are expected, or management wants all Scientologists to be bringing new people into Scientology. That is a true statement. It is also notoriously difficult to get Scientologists to bring new people into Scientology. Bringing the word in Scientology that they use for public Scientologists who recruit new people into Scientology is field staff member, or FSM. A Scientology organization has someone on a post in a bigger org. Usually there's no one on this post, called the FSM in charge, the field staff member in charge, or the FSMIC. This staff member's entire job is to basically be the cheerleader and the person that goes around to all public Scientologists and being like, who can you bring in this week? Who can you bring in this week? Who can you select? It's called a selectee. An FSM selects someone that they want to bring in. Okay. But understand, that means there's a dedicated staff member whose whole job is to constantly harass Scientologists for who they're going to bring in this week or who they're going to bring in next. The fact that you have to have someone whose full-time job is to harass members to bring in new members is just a little data point that it's very hard to bring new people in, and it's hard to make people want to bring new people in. So I'm explaining it this way because it's like Aaron Kyro as a Scientologist, even if he wasn't on staff, okay, as a Scientologist would want to be able to potentially bring new people in. But it's also okay if he doesn't. Like, public Scientologists don't get in trouble for not bringing new people into Scientology. They just don't. It's almost like if you do, you're considered great. But if you don't, you're just considered like everyone else. because
Yeah, okay.
almost nobody is successfully bringing new people into Scientology. Okay, now understand this as well. During most of the time that Kyro's been running the Braille channel, he hasn't been a public Scientologist. It sounds like he's been a staff member for damn near 20 years. I mean, I actually don't know how long he's been on staff. Do you?
I don't know the story of when he originally joined staff, so no, I don't know that.
Okay, it seems like it's been a long time. As a staff member, it is not his job to bring new people into Scientology. It's his job to do whatever his post was at the org. So that's one of the reasons they pressure public Scientologists to bring new public Scientologists in, is because it's like the staff members are busy doing their jobs at the org. You're the one out there in the real world. The least you can do is bring some new people in, right? Okay. Yeah. So I'm being really long-winded about this, but it's also because I want to be as fair and accurate as possible. If Kyro wanted to use his content and his video and his platform to bring new people into Scientology, then he would. And so not mentioning Scientology in his videos and not giving his multi-level marketing style Scientology success stories of, before I joined Scientology, I couldn't learn tricks. Then I got some auditing and now I learned tricks real fast.
Yeah.
If he had put that video on his channel, then obviously that would be using his channel to recruit for Scientology. Okay. There's another way to look at this as well. Scientologists would argue that just by being a successful, high-profile person in an industry and also being known as the Scientology guy, that's good enough. That's already creating good PR for Scientology. That's already going to cause people to be interested in Scientology. That's how they justify saying Tom Cruise has introduced 1 billion people to Scientology, is because people find out that Tom Cruise is a Scientologist and they're like, well, he's a hardworking, successful actor and no one's got a bad thing to say about him. Scientology must be at least okay. Let me at least Google search it. So this is why it's like, you can make the argument both ways that let's say a celebrity like Tom Cruise doesn't talk about Scientology anymore. Why? Yeah. Because it's so freaking toxic that it actually hurt his career or it hurt his PR. It made him a joke. Okay. So a Scientologist might justify Tom Cruise not talking about Scientology, or Aaron Kyro not promoting Scientology on his channel, of being like, you know what? That's smart. That's strategic, because Scientology's PR is too bad but then a Scientologist could go, yeah, but how is Scientology's PR going to improve if people like Kyro and Tom Cruise aren't out there working to improve it? So it's one of these things where you can make an argument for why they don't promote it. You can make an argument for why they should be promoting it. But I think it is fair to say that the Braille channel, the Braille content, is not there to bring young people into Scientology.
Yeah, that was my feeling too. And like why I worked for them is because I felt like that too. But like I said, I would get heat that people would say it's to recruit people. But I also think, like, I talked a little bit with Natalie, but I was like, I really don't think anyone watched Kyro's skate videos, then somehow figured out, well, then Googled that he's Scientologist, whatever, and then said, you know what, I should join to be like him. I feel like the percentage of people that did that would be, this number has to be like so close to 0, if not 0. But right. I could be wrong though. Like, I for sure could be wrong. But then Natalie said, she said, no, but Rick, you don't understand. The young people in Scientology say, oh, look, we got a guy with a 5 million channel. Like, hell yeah, like, go Scientologist. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess that kind of does, like, that does make sense.
It does. It does. It's wonderful for internal propaganda. It's wonderful for making young Scientologists, young Scientologists be more comfortable, more confident, more secure in being a Scientologist and not being embarrassed about it. If Aaron Kyro with this giant skateboarding channel is a Scientologist. In fact, one of the slogans Miscavige started using a number of years ago is Scientology, the coolest religion on earth. For real. They had fucking t-shirts made up. Scientology, the coolest religion on earth. And so a lot of this stuff is more valuable for internal propaganda than it is for external recruiting. But isn't it just crazy that somehow Scientology managed to get Steve Berra, Jason Lee, and Aaron Kyro, but they can't get...
Yeah, they can't get one skater fan kid. They can't even get one. Like, why? Like, it's so weird. I don't know.
I have to find out how Steve Berra got into Scientology.
Yeah,
If anyone out there knows, please email me at growingupinscientology@gmail.com.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, if you did like while this Aaron Kyro thing is trending, if you did a skater series, you call a video how Scientology had a hold over skateboarding, talk about Kyro, Berra, and Jason Lee, that would be like, it'd be very interesting for the skaters.
Yes, that is a great idea. So let's say the same for Jason Lee. However, Jason Lee got into Scientology. The story might already be out there on the internet. I just don't happen to know what it is. So if anyone knows that story and can send it to me, growingupinscientology@gmail.com. Yeah, see, I said earlier, if anyone who knew what they were doing was calling the shots over there strategically in Scientology land, they would have been like, you know what, Kyro, you know what the greatest thing in the world would be? If you were not only the executive director of San Francisco, but also still the head of a wildly successful YouTube channel that even employed a bunch of non-Scientology skaters. So you could help dispel the idea that Scientology is a weird, controlling cult. And like they could have actually used this to their advantage. He could have been, he could have come back and been like, hey guys, listen, I did this training. This training was so that I could take on more responsibility at the Scientology organization. As you guys know, you guys are the ones helping me keep this show on the road. So we're going to reorganize things so you guys get more money. You guys have more involvement, more buy-in, because even though I'm going to be spending more time over in Scientology land, I want to keep this thing, growing and successful and popular. And you guys are the ones who have helped me do that. And we're going to figure out how to keep that going. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Instead, he comes back and he ruins the whole thing. And it's because of Scientology.
One of my questions, I think it was my girlfriend that asked this. She said, like, in Kyro's mind right now, like, he knows the channel is tanking. He knows it's all going to shit. If you watch some of his videos now, it's actually really so sad. Like, the way he talks, like, oh, hey guys, yeah, comment your board size. I ride 775. It's like, bro, every single comment is negative. Like, who are you talking to? But anyway, they were saying, like, in Kyro's mind, do you think he thinks this downfall is maybe some kind of Thetan thing? Maybe people like me, PTS, went against him and we've spun the narrative and he has to try to spin it back. Like, obviously he can't realize that it's because of Scientology, but like, what is he kind of thinking is the reason for the downfall, I guess?
A superficial level, it's basically suppression. And that doesn't mean Ricky Glazer's a bad guy and he's suppressing me. He would look at it like this. It ties back into Scientology's conspiracy theories, okay? And I don't mean to go like too far deep, but this is how to get to the answer of what does he think is happening, okay? This Earth is a prison planet, okay? We are here on a prison planet, okay? We are here, evil alien psychiatrists are imprisoning us on this planet lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, okay? Scientology is the only thing that can undo the chains, the spiritual chains, the mental chains that are keeping us imprisoned on this planet lifetime after lifetime. The alien psychiatrists know this, okay? The alien psychiatrists are also the ones who run all the international bankers and the shadow government, and they own the press, and they own the Psychiatric Association, they own the Medical Association, they own, they're basically the shadow government, the true deep state. Okay, they also own all the big pharma. Okay, you and people like you who end up believing the negative stuff about Scientology are unknowingly being influenced by the true suppressive elements on planet Earth, which is the evil alien psychs, also the real human psychiatrists, big media, big pharma, like all of this suppression is stacked up against Scientology. And that is why Scientology is so heavily fought. It's why they're so heavily criticized. It's why they're so misunderstood, because it's not just being misunderstood. It's false information intentionally being broadcast, shoved down society's throat about Scientology just to discredit the only thing that poses a threat to the control of the prison planet of Earth. And so he'd be like, it's just, what is it? Collateral damage. Braille skateboarding is just collateral damage in the war that the true suppressive forces on Earth are waging against Scientology. And it's a damn shame that people like Ricky and all the rest of the Braille crew have gone the effect of all of this suppression, but that's okay. We understand it. We expected it, actually. This is how it goes. That's even how Scientology justified the movie Battlefield Earth tanking. Oh, no, we totally expected it. We totally expected this. It's like, if you expected it, then why didn't you do anything about it? And so it doesn't even, you know, when it comes to him breaking his ankle, yes, he's going to isolate a single person or a single event that was like sort of a flashpoint of suppression that caused him to break that ankle. But as far as like the internet turning against Braille, it would basically just be, unfortunately, people going the effect of the suppression. And the suppression is really out to get Scientology. It's not out to get Aaron Kyro. It's not out to get Braille. It's out to get Scientology. And Braille was just collateral damage. And so he's just going to do his best, and he's just going to keep trying, and he's going to, you know, keep making it go right. But at no point is he going to go, oh man, Scientology fucked up my channel.
Yeah, damn.
That won't even enter his mind.
Yeah. My girlfriend who asked the question, she's in my chat, and she says, so Kyro believes there's a giant intergalactic war going on.
So it's not that there's an active war. So they believe in the Galactic Confederacy. I forget how many planets are in the Galactic Confederacy. And they believe that the Earth is used as a prison planet for the Galactic Confederacy. So, you know, the Confederacy is ruled by basically a dictator, and the dictator basically uses Earth as a prison. It's a far-flung outpost on the far edge of a, you know, I don't know, a class 3 star at the edge of the galaxy. And so it's not related to an actual war. There may or may not be a war going on. They just believe that this is the prison planet. So we're not necessarily prisoners of war. We're just prisoners. And I think L. Ron Hubbard said, like, all the troublemakers, the artists, you know, there was one policy that was called Pirates and Bums, where he's like, oh, the pirates and bums who are just out, you know, they take no prisoners and take no shit from anyone. That basically, yeah, that all the people who could create trouble, the revolutionaries, the people who could lead effective revolts on planets, they send us here to planet Earth. And only Scientology can set us free and unplug us from the matrix that is this prison planet.
Man, that's intense.
And it's those big stories. It's those big stories that I know I, as a young Scientology soldier, would cling to. Like, even if I didn't believe in this piece of Scientology or that piece of Scientology, or I thought this was unfair or that was stupid or that was obviously false, it was actually the big stories like that would make me go, oh, I'd have to remind myself now and then. You know, whenever I was like, I don't really want to do this anymore, I'd be like, oh, but wait a second. Remember the prison planet story. This is a prison planet. So that's why it doesn't matter if you work 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 18 hours a day. The reason you're doing it is to unplug everyone from this prison planet, this matrix. And you've seen the movie The Matrix?
Yeah.
It's like Scientologists were like, how did they know? How did the Wachowski brothers unlock the secrets of existence?
Scientology is basically Matrix plus like Harry Potter. I like the analogy of the wizards and the muggles kind of. And then have you ever seen They Live, the movie from the 80s where they put the goggles on and they can see like the truth?
No.
Oh, that's a sick one. You should watch that. They like put on the thing and then the newspaper like says like lies or whatever. It's a classic 80s movie. But I feel like it's kind of like a mix of those three.
It is. And also Star Wars. So like Scientologists believe that there's like life on every planet, just like in Star Wars, no matter what planet you go to, there's some life. That's what Scientologists believe. It's like, so it's like the Matrix and Star Wars. And yeah. And so it's funny because in the Matrix, I would say that Morpheus would be like L. Ron Hubbard or now David Miscavige, but Neo would be like Tom Cruise. Neo was the one who was going to make Tom Cruise in Scientology was the one that was going to make everything possible, going to make all of our dreams come true, was going to fulfill the prophecy of clearing planet Earth. And it's crazy. It's crazy stuff. And I'm telling you, Kyro has completely bought into this entire thing, which is why that's the ultimate answer to the question of why wouldn't he care more about saving Braille? He goes, in the grand scheme of things, he's like, a YouTube channel versus saving all of humanity. You know what I mean?
It's wild to me that he could be like, oh, Ricky did this cool thing at work today, is one thought in his mind. And then the next second after is like, oh, yeah, we're on the prison planet, blah, 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 blah. To me, like, I guess, because, you know, being on the internet, you like what I said. I heard about you saying you thought they had superpowers. And my thing was like, wow, that's crazy. To me now, to be so closely interacting in this, it's like, whoa, like, I didn't really, I don't know, I felt like disconnected from it. But then to sort of be a part of it firsthand, I'm like, man, that's still maybe is like hard for me to fully like comprehend, I guess.
Yeah. And you might have heard that Aaron Kyro and San Francisco Day Organization were awarded the #1 Scientology org in the entire world for the March 13th L. Ron Hubbard birthday event.
Yeah, so just before the call, you started talking about this, and I said, oh, let's save it for the thing. Maybe I read that article from the Tony Ortega, it's like anti-Scientologist reporter guy, right? Maybe you could tell me a bit about like what exactly that means and like how legitimate that is.
Okay, so in Scientology, every organization in the world is competing against every other organization in the world in a weekly competition that they call the L. Ron Hubbard birthday game. And there's weekly standings, there's quarterly standings, and there's annual standings. And the winner of the annual game gets announced every year at the L. Ron Hubbard March 13th birthday celebration. And they've had to change it up a little bit to make more winners. So they'll announce like the #1 org in the East US, the #1 org in the West US, the #1 org in the UK, but then they will still announce the #1 org in the world. And Aaron Kyro and San Francisco Day were awarded the winners of the annual L. Ron Hubbard birthday game. Now, that doesn't mean you're the biggest organization in the world, but it does mean
the world?
In the entire world. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. It doesn't mean you're the biggest organization in the world, but it means you've experienced the most growth over the last year than any org in the world. And the fact that San Francisco org could have been awarded that is it's interesting, but these games are also heavily rigged in favor of the org that Miscavige wants to win. So like any org that opens up their new building, you get a certain number of bonus points for that year that makes it almost impossible for you not to win. And I'm willing to bet that the orgs that had their executive training teams fire back home, which is fire is the word they use for officially successfully launching you back to your org. I'm willing to bet there was a huge number of bonus points awarded for having your team fire back. There's also, and it'll be hard for me to explain this without doing a whole dedicated video and actually showing graphs and like demonstrating it. There's a way to rig the stats. There's a way to rig the stats easily that if you know how the game is played and you know how the points are awarded, you can easily rig it. Especially if management is pulling for you and wanting you to win. So, yeah, like the two top orgs were orgs that were ideal orgs and had new management teams. And it's like, okay, fine.
So you think Kyro is like sitting at home, he's had a long day, he's like, damn, Braille went to shit, but at least I got #1. Like, yeah, like it's all good. The prison plan is going well. Like, is that kind of what he's thinking?
Yeah, I mean, for an org and an org staff to win the annual birthday game is like, that's like as big as when Tom Cruise got his medal from David Miscavige. Like to a staff member, there's no bigger accomplishment than winning the birthday game. And so to have it be also an org where your executive director is like an OT7, all 3 L's, superpower completion celebrity is like, yeah, those guys are walking on cloud 9 for a little while.
It's crazy.
But that's the other thing in Scientology. Like all they care about is next week. So like, great, you won the birthday game this week. What are your stats like next week?
Yeah.
And it's almost like the higher they go, the harder they fall. That is true for statistics. So it's like having won the birthday game is also a curse. It means the next year is going to be pure hell.
Yeah, right. They have to live up to it again and again.
Yeah. But I'll tell you where I think Kyro is really going to run into trouble is when he runs out of money.
Yeah. And like close Braille will like completely stop uploading and get another job. Like work at a gas station or something. Like, what's he gonna do?
Yeah, like destroying the channel, killing the goose that was laying the golden egg. Oh man, that's the one thing. Like the conspiracy theories that Scientologists ascribe to, they're so grand, they're so all encompassing that it causes you to, well, in many cases, and in this case specifically, just think everything else is unimportant and worthless. And you go, well, I think providing you enough income so that you can continue to be on staff is important, but you literally killed it. You literally killed it. Anyway, it's hard for me to look at it all, because when I look at it all I can see is the simple and easy ways that it could have all been avoided. And it's hard to continue to justify why Kyro wouldn't have taken those steps. Yeah,
totally. And like from a skater's point of view too, it's like, why just destroy it? Like, you know, I liked the mission statement in skateboarding. Hey, Braille, the other ones, Berrics and Thrasher, they were a little bit more, you got to learn about skating, then come to us. But Braille was very friendly, like, hey, anyone can skate. It's cool. Like, come with us. We'll make it easy for you. Like, we accept everyone. I really agreed with that sentiment. So, like, it's sad to just really see how it can just crash and burn so hard. One question I had for you, Aaron, was Natalie talked a little bit about her kind of like breaking point of quitting Scientology. She sort of said she was having doubts, and then she was in this like mall shooting incident where she just said like, I don't care about anything anymore. Like I'm going now. Do you think Aaron will ever get to like a breaking point? And I think maybe you or Natalie spoke on people who were born in versus people who sought it out. Like, do you think he can ever get there? If his life really goes down, 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 will he ever hit rock bottom, or will he always just have this cope of like, I'm doing the greater good type of thing?
It's always possible. I always say that I think people end up leaving Scientology when they experience something, or they are pushed beyond the point of abuse that they're willing to tolerate. And that line is different for everyone. Also, people's experience. Everyone's experience is unique to them. So, you know, a public Scientologist has a different experience than a staff member or a Sea Org member. But even a public Scientologist can be pushed beyond the point of abuse that they're willing to experience. Whether that abuse is the constant demands to go deeply into debt to donate to Scientology, or constantly being told that you have to redo steps of the bridge that you've already done, or being demanded to disconnect from people who you know are not bad people. Like just because a public and a staff and a Sea Org member have different experiences doesn't mean that a public can't have as bad or worse of experience as someone who was on staff or in the Sea Org. Now, Kyro was a public. He's a staff member. I would not be surprised. Let's say things really started to go to shit for him financially. I would not be surprised to see Aaron Kyro when his contract is up to join the Sea Organization. I wouldn't be surprised. I also, when it comes to whether someone, you know, would or would not leave Scientology, I never say never, because some of the biggest, highest people who've left Scientology are people that at an earlier time, someone would have told you, oh no, that person would never leave. That person could never, ever, ever leave, you know? You know, the fact that Kyro is one of the leading members of what Miscavige says is the most important training program ever in Scientology. Kyro has been made to feel so important, and he's been validated in such a major way by even being declared the winner of the birthday game, that it's almost like if we compare him to Tom Cruise. You could hear someone go, why would Tom Cruise ever leave Scientology when it gives him everything he needs? It gives him all the validation, support, acknowledgement, justification for even existing. And he has David Miscavige, who will literally do anything to make Tom Cruise happy. Now, Kyro is no Tom Cruise. But if it gives him all of the validation and purpose that he needs, and if he's getting that validation even from David Miscavige, then what is it that would cause him to leave? I feel like it would have to be Miscavige himself somehow abusing Kyro in some way, or not coming to his defense in some way, where Kyro feels so betrayed, so hurt, that his trust, not only in Miscavige, is affected, but it affects his trust in Scientology. And it's like, that's also what it would take for Tom Cruise to leave. And you go, could that ever, ever, ever happen? It seems unlikely, but it's not impossible. Also realize Kyro's just a staff member. Like, the fact that he has a successful skateboarding channel to David Miscavige is like meaningless. He doesn't give a shit about Aaron Kyro's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
In fact, he probably looks down on it, you know? And even if you're like, oh, but it made a lot of money. There's a lot of people in Scientology 1,000 times wealthier than Aaron Kyro. Nobody cares about his YouTube channel. I mean, nobody in management cares about his YouTube channel.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, he's the executive director of an org. There's about 140 executive directors of orgs in the world. The fact that Kyro is a pseudo celebrity is, you know, sort of a feather in his cap. The fact that they won the birthday game, feather in his cap. The fact that he finished the training program, feather in his cap. The fact that he was one of the first people to finish it, feather in his cap. There's a lot of things working in his favor. But the truth is, he's just a class 5 org staff member. And he's not like some giant, amazing deal in the world of Scientology. And when you do start getting put on a pedestal and you start getting some limelight, it's like, be careful. David Miscavige does not like people who get a lot of limelight and get put up on pedestals. So on the one hand, I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised to see him join the Sea Org in 5 years. On the other hand, I wouldn't be surprised to see him out of Scientology in 10 years. It really could go either way.
Yeah, right. So when he took this new position of the executive director, he signed a new thing that was like refreshing the 5 years.
When you go on to full-time training, you have to sign a 5-year contract that only goes into effect when you finish your training and go back on post. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess from that point, 5 years from that, that would be interesting to see if he joins the CEO. What's the state of Braille? Again, 500 views. Does he give up uploading? Like, yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah. The one thing, another, just element to all this is his value in training, like the value of the value in the world of Scientology for the training that he has done is immense in the eyes of Scientologists. So when someone is that valuable, it's like, is that a stronger argument for why they need to stay where they are? Because there's nobody who could possibly replace them at that level on that post? Or is it an argument for why they should be promoted to a higher level, such as joining the Sea Org? It's one of these things where in Scientology, you can argue it both ways. There was a woman here who ran flag named Debbie Cook. She was the captain of the flag service org. She was just considered unreplaceable, which is why she was on her post for like 15 to 20 years until one day Miscavige decided he wanted to bring her up to international management. And then he did that and everything went to shit. And Debbie Cook left Scientology a few years later. Like, it's almost like the closer you get to the real David Miscavige, the faster you crash and burn, because he is a destructive force. It's almost, there's like this sweet spot where you're in his orbit, but you're far enough away to still think he's wonderful and to still think everyone else is a fuck up. But Miscavige is wonderful. It's when you get a little too close to him that you go, oh shit, he's the problem. And usually that's like the beginning of the end for you. You're out of Scientology soon after that. And then there's this weird sweet spot of Scientology executives who know exactly who and what David Miscavige are, and they've not left yet. They've still been there for 10, 20, 30 years. Those people will never leave, So I think Kyro still thinks Miscavige is truly a great, inspirational visionary, because he doesn't know the real David Miscavige. And in order for Kyro to continue to stay in Scientology, he has to stay not really knowing the true David Miscavige. Because I think if Kyro knew the real David Miscavige, he would probably leave.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's really interesting.
There's a whole bunch of starred questions that we can run through. Do you have any other like Scientology type questions?
I think that was pretty much all on my side. We can go with the stud.
Okay, cool. Let's see what we got here. All right, hold on. I'm going to go through these selectively. Okay, Friends of the People says, I grew up watching Braille, learning how to skateboard. It's sad to see all the money went to Lord Xenu. How much of the money made, like, I want to ask this, like, how much of the money was reinvested into the channel, but I don't really know the real right way to ask that question, or how you would know. Like, how much money was spent producing the videos themselves?
Yeah, so I guess we could just look at like how much ad revenue. I think total channel is like 1.8 billion views. So like if you extrapolate that, a lot of money. If you look at some of the brand deals, big brands getting lots of views, a lot of money. Then as well, Braille is not free. There were the expenses of like the warehouse. You know, even if he's paying us $20 an hour, pays like 5 or 6 people $20 an hour. It still is a day's expense, whatever. But other than those like sort of core things, not really. There was not much like, hey, the budget for the video is $1,000. The budget for the actual videos was always pretty low. It was usually just those base costs. So like other than those base costs, he's making like a lot of profit from the videos. But I don't really know. I'm just a worker. Like I don't fully have that kind of information. But we could say like, especially before my time in that sort of like 2016 to 18 sort of period, where the views were crazy, like he was making a lot.
Yeah, totally. Kendra Rowe says, Ricky has all of us behind him, plus practically the rest of the world, honestly.
Thank you, Kendra.
Good Juju Travels. Scientology is so out of touch with current reality that they cut off their own foot by severing Kyro from his income source. The height of stupidity. Yeah, it really is weird. It's kind of like, what are some other examples? There's okay, so I live in Clearwater, Florida. There's a giant marketing company here called Postcard Mania. Direct mail marketing. They do postcard marketing. They do website, internet marketing, all this kind of stuff. The woman who owns this named Joy Jandusa. She's one of the wealthiest Scientologists here in Clearwater. It's a massive company. They employ hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. Easily half or more, maybe 80% of the people who work at this company are not Scientologists. And the same questions come up about that company of, oh, is Postcard Mania just there to recruit people into Scientology? And you go, no, it's there to make money.
Yeah.
It's
even in the sentiment in skateboarding would even be a little bit like how I said Aaron Kyro was a little bit of an abnormality in skateboarding, just he did something a little bit different. People would say, why does he get all these views? It's because Scientology is bringing him up. Like they're raising the views, they're doing it, and they'll get super conspiratorial with it. And it's like, dude, like if Scientology had the power to do that, why wouldn't they do that for Scientology? Why wouldn't they do that for themselves? Like, why would they do that for random skate channel? Like, I don't know. People really like to go sort of ham on the like connecting the dots type stuff.
I agree with you. I feel also a certain way about the fact that, Scientology is known for having a lot of actors and actresses, and you go, right, but if, why doesn't Scientology use Tom Cruise to help other Scientology actors become more famous? You'll notice he doesn't. Being a Scientology actor does not get you in a Tom Cruise project. And yet Scientology is celebrity obsessed, and they do, like using celebrities to theoretically recruit people. And yet they don't even use their own celebrities to help catapult their own members into celebrity status. It's a little weird, and I don't actually know how to explain it.
That is interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Abigail wants to know, if Aaron Kyro were to leave Scientology and wanted to restart Braille, would you be willing to go back?
So I would definitely not go back. And like, I don't think we could ever have the same relationship, but I would hear him out from a distance. I would help him from a distance, but I wouldn't really be friends with him again. I feel like I would, I don't know. I think that's probably the best way to answer it, I guess.
Yeah. CO Bilf, if Aaron Kyro flipped and started an anti-Scientology YouTube channel, he could be successful again. It's true. Celebrities who leave tend not to talk about it that much. I mean, except Leah Remini is a famous exception to that rule. Do you think if Kyro left Scientology and talked about it on his channel, he'd be sort of embraced by the skateboard community?
I think there's two scenarios. If he left and didn't say anything, no one would care. It wouldn't make a difference. If he left and actively talked against them, I think a lot of people would, maybe they'd question his like legitimacy or whatever, But I think people would at least forgive him a little bit to an extent, and he could do better than he's doing now for sure. But then at the same time, I think although skate world just says, I'm sick of Kyro and Scientology, I don't care what he's saying, I've heard enough, like I don't even care. I think there'll be a lot of people like that as well.
Yeah, it's true. It's weird to have Scientology dominating the conversation of something like the skateboarding world. It's very strange.
I agree.
Julia O'Connell, Scientology is the worst business school ever. Rochelle, thank you for gifting a channel membership.
Let's go.
Animal Audit Corner. David Miscavige didn't even graduate high school. How on earth did he manage to convince him that Scientology is a business school? It's a human trafficking cult. That's true. Again, David Miscavige is not writing any of the materials of Scientology, at least not yet. Matt Elliott says, not sure if it's been asked, but did Aaron Kyro ever try to recruit you or any of the other guys into Scientology?
Yeah, so I talked about this with Natalie. Me personally, never. He was a little bit open, like, hey, if you have any questions, let me know. But he was never like, hey, come to the org. You should join. You should this. I would say like he very much didn't ever push me to it. One of the other guys that was before my time actually messaged me after the interview. He said, I really liked the interview. Kyro did actually, this was his story. So it's like a little bit vague. He wasn't like super trying to recruit him. But he said he was hanging out in SF and he saw Kyro was like out the front of the Scientology building. And then they hung out with him a little bit. And he was like, yeah, it was really weird, like seeing him in that sort of setting. And then like a little bit after that, he said, hey, if you want to come to the org, come. And he went with him. They watched a couple of like the basic videos or whatever, the beginner intro stuff. And then the skater guys were like, okay, cool. Like that's enough. And then they left and then nothing else ever happened. Well, I think he said they would email him and shit a bunch after that. But Kyro never like followed up or anything. But that wasn't my first-hand experience. That was before I was there and the other skater. But for the most part, like, no, it was not like we're skating. He goes, hey, guys, you should really check out Scientology. Like, think about it. All right, see you tomorrow. It was never like that or anything.
Yeah. Rochelle says, Kyro's decisions affected all of the workers. Of course, they have a right to ask questions. Oh, yeah, totally. No, a right to ask questions for sure. But I think a responsibility is like... because at the end of the day, the people that work for a company they're at their own choice. They can choose to stay. They can choose to leave. So I don't blame any of the Braille folks for not, pushing harder on Aaron to answer questions about this or questions about that. Like if they wanted to, fine, but I don't think it was incumbent upon them to do so.
I feel like I did have my clear line of like what I was accepting to tolerate. And I guess like we slowly started to get there when he went away. And then that's when it all ended, But like if early on it crossed the line of like, hey, promote this, I go, okay, goodbye. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Pinche Leslie says, I'm 27 now. Tony Hawk was literally my Beyonce. I knew and loved Kyro on YouTube, but it felt underground on the low key side and it being cool. I loved that indie vibe.
Yeah, because it's kind of like the pioneer of YouTube style. Like it was sort of the first generation of creators.
Yeah. ASL wheels are turning, doing a few hours of work one day a week for a week's worth of videos. Yeah, how did that work? So like, was it like an 8-hour recording day, a 12-hour? Like, were you guys really packing it in on that one day?
Each video is usually like an hour, probably. Yeah.
Oh.
So you film for about an hour, get like a 15-minute video.
Acupunk says it's crazy how successful dedicated Scientologists could be if they put their passion. Put into their passion what they put into Scientology. Yeah. Okay. Vegan 3 says, I just found a video where Kyro interviews his wife. This guy sounds terrible, but she married me twice. Oh, I see. Danny Kyro.
You could watch that if you're interested to learn more about his life and his wife. It's very funny because it's very clear as a viewer that they clearly say before the interview, obviously we're not going to talk about Scientology, but then when you watch the interview, they go, blah, 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 my colleague from work, blah, 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 I was at work, blah, 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 at work. That will kind of give you sort of the insight of how it was for us as the workers. But just they talk about Scientology related things, but they just say at work, this work in like this super vague way. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Joe Bloggins, hard to believe Kyro couldn't see the train wreck with Scientology draining his bank account. Yeah. Is this the guy we already spoke about? Is Eric Koston a Scientologist?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
the one. That's what Kyro told me.
So Kyro told you that Eric Koston is a Scientologist.
Yeah, and he said he tries to be low key with it, is what Kyro said.
Wow. Well, he's done a good job since we can't find any record of him finishing his Scientology courses. Well, if he's trying to be low key about it, then maybe he doesn't appreciate Kyro telling everybody his business.
I tell you what's sad too is Eric Koston was literally my favorite skateboarder when I was a kid, when I'm like 14. So it's like, damn.
Did Kyro say this in a video, or he just said it privately to people?
No, he said it privately just to me.
Oh, I see. Got it. Okay, let me see. Scrolling through these. New England Truth says, no offense, but Scientology has lost their own way. I respect all religions except Scientology. I have to pay for my spirituality? That is just sick. Yeah, I mean, Scientology's got to pay for play system, but I mean, even a lot of the mainstream religions are still trying to get your money in one way or another, although in a different way than Scientology, for sure. Okay, Colin says, how was Kyro allowed to return home before his training ended? Weren't the trainees supposed to stay at Flag for the entire 3 to 4 years? Well, I think that question is answered by the fact that he only went home for like a week. So he wasn't going back home to go on to post. He was clearly going back home for some other reason. So he was just granted a short LOA. And it's obvious that when he went home, he already knew he was supposed to go back. Right?
Yeah, I could add to that too. When he came back in those brief periods, he wasn't busy Monday to Friday. He was available or whatever. He would try to film as many videos as possible in the week or whatever and then go again.
Oh. That's very interesting. Okay. To me, that answers that. To me, that shows me that is actually why he went back.
Yeah. Okay. Because he would say too, I finished this thing, but I'm waiting for the other people, and then I got to go back. So maybe he finished first, then left quickly for a week, and then goes again, or whatever.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Adam Carmona says, I go exterior, then interior, then exterior again. It's the metaphysical hokey pokey. I don't imagine Aaron Kyro ever brought an e-meter to work, did he? Did you ever see an e-meter?
Is there like videos breaking down how an e-meter actually works? Like you should collab with like a scientist or something, or an engineer.
Yeah, there is a fantastic engineering channel that he's a German and Austrian guy. He opens up the e-meter. He shows all of its components. He explains what they do. He explains kind of how much the whole thing costs. I have done a video about it. There's a bunch of videos about it, but I've even done a video playing with an e-meter. Me and Jenna here at the table were doing.
Yeah, playing around. I might check that out. That sounds interesting to me. Because I remember in some of your things you were saying like you could get a feel for how to make the needle, the floating needle or whatever you would say. So like I thought that was interesting how like you don't really know what it works, but you know how to like work with it kind of thing.
Yes, when you're training on how to use the e-meter, you're also trained on the physical things that can influence the e-meter. So you basically are taught how to influence the e-meter, partially so that you can try to detect if the pre-clear is intentionally or unintentionally influencing the e-meter. You're supposed to be able to differentiate between e-meter reads that come from body motion versus e-meter reads that come from the mind. And so anyone learns how to influence the e-meter. It's just whether you're actively trying to do it low key in an auditing session or not. Of course, I always was, because I never willingly participated in an auditing session. I hated auditing sessions.
Yeah.
But someone like Aaron would like probably, if he's a true believer, isn't trying to influence the e-meter. But I think all Scientologists are like secretly trying to, even if just by thinking their happy thoughts when they want their needle to float. Anyway, let's see. Only a few left. Joe Bloggins. I don't think Kyro could have recruited many. Scientology doesn't want a bunch of skaters who have no money.
Real.
That's right. Oh, this is Cheryl talking about the intergalactic war. The war already happened. We used to live on Mars, but had atomic bomb wars and ruined it. So we moved to Tigiak, and here we are.
Cheryl was the one that filmed Kyro at the birthday thing, right? I think.
Filmed him at the birthday thing. Cheryl, are you still here? Did you film Kyro at the birthday thing?
There was a clip of him in Clearwater, and they go, Aaron Kyro, and then he's walking, and then he walks the other way. I'm pretty sure it was them.
Is that right? I'll see if she pops up in the chat with an answer, because if I haven't seen that, if she did.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Joe says, nice upgrade for Kyro from millions to $50 a week. Yeah. So the thing is, like, $50 a week is what Sea Org members make. Staff members often make much less than that. Yeah. And that's what makes it so hard to be on staff, is because, Sea Org members make $50 a week, but they also don't have any expenses other than, their toiletries that they have to buy. Which, can you believe?
Sorry, you go.
Scientology doesn't even give its Sea Org members toilet paper. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So, but staff members can make even less than $50 a week, but they have to support themselves. They live in the real world. Scientology doesn't pay for any of their stuff, not even food. So that's what I'm saying. Like, eventually, I think Kyro is going to run into a money problem.
Yeah. So on some of the workers at Braille, there was like HR brand deal lady. Then there was like merch lady. And then a couple other people that would help out. They were all on staff as well, I think. And then one of the husbands is actually in that photo where Kyro is standing with the bridge. I can't remember. He's kind of like the Asian dude with the glasses and the black hair. That was one of their husbands. But now with Braille tanking, is like, how are all of them gonna, like, that was a revenue source for all of them too. So like, are they gonna go get different jobs?
Exactly. It doesn't make sense for him not to have figured out in advance, or even as everything was unfolding, how do I keep Braille going so that we don't have to go find other jobs and can continue to have this nice balance where we can make some relatively easy money and still do our posts. It's just, and I think I do predict you will see Aaron trying harder on the channel, if only for the exact reason we're talking about right here. His ability to continue to be on staff and these other people to be on staff sort of depends on it. And so it's a big problem.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. It looks like this is the last one. Great gig in the sky. Honestly, what the hell is going to happen to Scientology when David Miscavige kicks the bucket? Is Kyro being groomed? Who else on staff who hasn't been beaten down could actually take over? Aaron Kyro is definitely not being groomed to take over Scientology. And that's why I said at the end of the day, Aaron Kyro is just another Class 5 org staff member. Yes, he's got a lot of feathers in his cap right now. He's not even a Sea Org member. Like I said, there's like 134 Scientology orgs in the world. They are all going to have newly trained executive directors. Kyro's only interesting because he's like a sort of a celebrity and they won the birthday game. Other than that, there's nothing extra special about Aaron Kyro in the world of Scientology. There's hundreds of OT7s. There's hundreds of OT8s. There's going to be hundreds of people finishing this training evolution. We just do videos about him because he's Aaron Kyro. Yeah. In the world of Scientology, he's just another org ED. Cool. Those are all the starred comments. Any other Scientology-ish related questions that because you're on Twitch, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how Twitch works. Do they ask questions?
Yeah, for sure. Guys, if you have any interesting questions. My girlfriend said earlier, she goes, ask him if when they look at the personality, this is like low-level recruiting or whatever. She said, ask him if when they look at the personality test, if they're looking for a specific type of person that would be susceptible to Scientology. Curious since I did a test and they didn't try to get me to join. She said she once did a test, just for fun, for the lols, like whatever. And she said all the chart was all like kind of high, like it was the average and it was all like high. And then she said they didn't say to her, oh, you got low communication. We got to get you on a communication course. She just said that they said, oh, okay, have a good day kind of thing.
Oh, they literally said, have a good day?
Yeah, that was her experience.
My one earbud died, and so I'm waiting for it to kick in. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Do you want me to share about my test?
That is
she can give you more information right now.
Oh gosh, okay, I'm not ready.
You can hear him, yeah.
Jeez. Okay. Hi. Yeah. So I went into the center in Hollywood just to take a test for the vibes, and I did the like IQ test, the personality test, and then we did the E-meter. And I was thinking like, oh, the only thing this could be doing would be like reading my pulse. So I'm just going to go like Zen and like try to lower my heart rate. And so then they bring me to this cubicle and they're like, yeah, wait here while we get your results. And the lady came back and was like, here's your printout. And there was like a bar graph of all the different like personality aspects. And it was like, this is our line of like ideal in Scientology of what we think you should be at. And then my line was above it in every single one. And then there was one point that it was like at the same exact level of the Scientology like ideals. And the lady was like, yeah, this one is a little bit lower, but yeah, that's about it. Like, all right, have a good day. Here's your results.
Interesting. So the question of, are they looking for a specific personality type who would be susceptible? They are not. That personality graph is just a sales tool. It's a crutch, because they say, this is not our opinion of you. This is your opinion of you. Right? Or did they give that like they're reading out? There's a script. The graph prints out along with a script. And it's what the introductory registrar is supposed to read to you. And what they're supposed to say is, no matter how your graph looks, it's supposed to be a crutch that they lean on in their pitch to you on, well, Scientology can help you with this, and Scientology can help you with this. Now, if you're all above the center line in Scientology, that's either really good or it's really bad, because it means you're not even aware of the problems that you have. Okay. So usually they'll be like, oh, you're delusional. Like, you're delusional. You think you're great, but you're not. If your graph is really low, they'll be like, you're in rough shape, but you're at least honest and aware of it. And Scientology can raise these points above the center line. But if you've never done Scientology and you're already above the center line, it's not like they're like, oh, we can't help you. They're like, oh no, we can help you. And as you get better, your graph is actually going to come down because you're confronting the things that right now you're not even able to see. Now, it might be that they just weren't prepared to spend the time convincing you that you're actually in bad shape and don't know it. And they're like, this is going to be too much trouble. Let's just move on to the next one.
Yeah, because like my lady, she didn't even like mention like, oh, we have classes here, we have programs. Like, she didn't say anything. She was just like, here's your results. Like, all right, bye. And I was like, what? Like, you're not going to try to recruit me? Oh.
Maybe it was close to lunchtime and dinner time and she was really hungry and just wanted to go. How long ago was that?
Oh my gosh, it was like probably like 6 or 7 years ago.
Wow.
I used like a fake name and the address of someone else when I like came in and like signed into their log. And then yeah, I was like, I don't want them to actually be able to find me. And the funny thing was, at this time, there was a building size poster of Aaron Kyro on the side of the building. Like, they had this like vertical billboard that was the entire length of that building on Hollywood Boulevard. And it was like him doing a kickflip. And I wish I had taken a picture because I was like, oh my God.
No,
like,
I think you have a picture because you showed me.
It might be somewhere like deep in like my photo somewhere. But yeah, it was like literally like the entire side of the building was a giant picture of him.
Oh my God. If you ever find that photo, please send it to me.
Yeah, we probably could, I think.
So this was that relatively small test center on Hollywood Boulevard, not the one on L. Ron Hubbard Way where the big Scientology buildings are, right?
Not the blue building, which is crazy because at the time when I was living in Hollywood at that time, or LA, I was doing some physical therapy for a knee surgery at Kaiser, which is across the street from the blue building. And my first time pulling up to that Kaiser was my first time seeing the building. And I was like, oh my God. And then I was driving around the block trying to look for parking, and I ended up like driving around the blue building, and it was just like tons of people in the little like suits, and like everyone kind of like looked at me as I drove by, because I guess they were like, why is this person on our L. Ron Hubbard Way? Because I don't know if it's like a private street. It was like paved differently too, and I was like, just trying to find some parking, and I was like, what world am I in right now?
Yeah, it's funny. It's a public street, but because there's nothing there but Scientology, people don't drive down it very much. And so the security guards are always eyeballing everybody who drives down that street, especially if someone's like driving around the block a number of times. So what inspired you to go in and take that test?
You know, I mean, I had seen all the Scientology things, and I think it was just like a day that I wasn't doing anything, and I was like hanging around in Hollywood, and I was like, let's go in and see what it's like. And so actually my experience in there, I thought it was interesting, was because like I had only heard of all the culty, crazy human trafficking stuff. And I go in and like the whole lobby, it's like when they brought me into like the waiting room to take my test, it was like all of these video panels all over showing of like all the humanitarian work. And they're like, we go to this crisis and we went to this disaster and here's us handing out water and helping people. And like, so everything that they showed was just like humanitarian. And then I go in and take the test. They don't try to sell me anything. I'm like, had I gone in with no prior knowledge of what Scientology was, or just like roughly heard like, oh, it's a cult, I would have come out and been like, oh no, it seemed really nice. It seemed good. Like it was totally normal. So it was interesting seeing that side of it, because like what they show to people who don't have any other knowledge is just like, oh, this is a good thing and they help the world.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you dodged a bullet there. So like that test center is really just an extension of one of the organizations on L. Ron Hubbard Way. Like that test center is not like its own Scientology organization. It's literally considered like a branch of the LA organization on LRH Way. And I've actually never been inside that building myself. I've actually never been in there. And I only learned recently that they actually have a course room in there where if they can convince you right then and there to start on one of these introductory courses, that they can just walk you into the course room and that you can do the course there. But then eventually they're going to send you over to the LA org. Do you remember seeing anyone else in there? Like, was there a lot of people in there?
Just like some workers, basically, just a few workers. Yeah. It was pretty quiet. But then also that just reminded me is, hopefully I'm not outing myself by being on this right now, but one other thing I wanted to do is they do free acting classes at the Celebrity Center. And I kind of wanted to go in there and like see what happens during these free acting classes that they give.
Now, those are definitely recruitment.
Yeah.
Those are recruitment.
What's it called? Golden something?
Oh, no. So that's separate. So also as an actor, they post on the acting casting sites, Golden Era Productions. And every week there's castings for like all these different promotional, like in-house films that they're doing. And so it's interesting because within some of the acting circles I'm in, I've talked to people who have gone and worked on those, and like just hearing their stories of what it's like on set, and like it's very interesting because they're casting like tons of those. They're filming constantly.
Yeah. You know, they used to do all that out at Golden Era Productions in Riverside County, like out near Hemet, California. But now they do it all, probably even for the Golden Era Production stuff, at Scientology Media Productions right in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And
the one with the big light up logo on top of the building. It's crazy. You drive by at night and you just see glowing in the sky the like symbol.
Yes. And reportedly, that is where David Miscavige works out of these days.
Okay.
Oh.
Wow.
And one of the reasons he works out of there is because it's not where he's supposed to be working out of. And he doesn't ever want to be wherever people think he's supposed to be, because then he can get served in lawsuits and stuff. So the word on the street is Scientology Media Productions is actually where he works out of.
Interesting. Ricky, you want to go get cast in one of those just so you can get inside and see what it's like?
You should definitely do that.
That is awesome. That's awesome. Well, I don't know. I hope one day Kyro does leave Scientology, but I definitely would not hold my breath. Like maybe 10 years. I don't know. It depends. You know. Bye. Nice to meet you.
He said bye.
Bye.
Doesn't she look so beautiful? You know, she went to the Olympics for snowboarding. So shout out to Janice Spiteri.
That is awesome. So what was that at the most recent Winter Olympics she was in there?
Yeah, 2022. Yeah. 2022. Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, Aaron, I actually went to the Scientology Center too. Like around the time I said I watched your video back in the day when I was just kind of going down the rabbit hole, I went to the Scientology Center in Melbourne, Australia, because that's where I grew up. And I actually went on a date with my girlfriend at the time, not Janice, but we were like both kind of like into sort of just random rabbit holes. And like, oh, wouldn't it be fun to like go on a date to the Scientology Center? And we did the same kind of thing as Janice. But I was kind of like looking out for her. I was like, I want you to feel comfortable. So when we were doing that, we watched a few of the videos, like the infinity one, like the eight something, where the 8 becomes infinity. I can't remember what it's called, but a couple of random videos. Then we did the test, and I was like, I think we should go before we get the results, just because like it might get weird when we get the results. And then she was like, yeah, okay. But yeah, I remember in the city of Melbourne, they got a bit of heat because the mayor went to the like opening. And they would have paid him or whatever. And then they're like, why is the mayor at the opening of the Scientology Center? That would have been in the early 2000s.
Yeah, it's getting harder for them to get some of these community and elected leaders to speak at their events, because there's almost inevitably some backlash in the press of, like, even the mayor, Karen Bass, mayor of LA, when she was running to become mayor, people discovered the video of her speaking at a Scientology grand opening event for their building in LA.
Really? I gotta watch that.
She's saying all sorts of amazing things about what a humanitarian and a visionary L. Ron Hubbard is, and Scientology is all about human rights and community. And so the guy who was running against her, I actually forget his name, Rick Caruso was his name. He turned her speech at the Scientology event into a campaign ad.
Damn.
And then she had to come out and distance herself and started talking smack about Scientology publicly while running for mayor, because Rick Caruso was running these ads. And it was like both people running for mayor were like competing for who could shit on Scientology the most to get the most street cred. It was so funny.
Wow, that is really funny. I definitely got to watch that original speech.
All right, well, let's wrap it up. I'll show everyone one more time here the two channels that you're running here. The boys, how many of the Braille crew are working on this channel?
Yeah, it's pretty much everyone except Aaron and Gabe. So
Oh, okay.
basically just or like of the most recent guys, I guess. There was a few other people that cycled in and out.
Okay, good. And then go ahead.
So with this Reacts channel, I actually do have another channel where it's like just my skateboarding videos. It's just Ricky Glazer. But then this Reacts channel is like where I do these kind of like talking head videos. So that's where all this kind of like Scientology related conversation has been. But then my kind of like more strictly skateboarding adventures is just on like at Ricky Glazer.
Oh, okay, good. Let me try to pull that up real quick. Oh, God, you got a lot of subs on that one.
Yeah, that one is like sort of like what I consider my main channel. But like I wouldn't really post these kind of videos there. I'm kind of like the Reacts channel is more to tie in with my live streaming kind of thing.
Got it. Okay, good. Yeah, you got a shit ton of subscribers on this one. Okay,
yeah,
good.
Like those are the ones that I originally interacted with you in the streams and stuff.
Got it. Okay, so which channel do you upload to more frequently, Ricky Glazer or Ricky Glazer Reacts?
So Reacts, I'm trying to do daily, and then the Ricky Glazer is like weekly of like highly produced videos, and then the other one is kind of like the daily commentary stuff.
Very cool. How often do you guys upload for Dub Boys?
We're trying to do weekly there as well.
Cool. Awesome. All right.
You do daily live streams, right? You grinding. I like to see your journey as a creator too.
Yeah. I tried to do daily. I mean, when I first started, so I watched tons and tons and tons of YouTube, and I just have my favorite channels. And every day I would go to my favorite channels and there wasn't something new to watch. I was like, damn, I'm all about that instant gratification. And I was like, you know what? That would be a fun little thing to set as a goal for myself. Like for people that like watching my channel, what if every single day they knew there was going to be something fun to watch? And it just sort of worked out. And you know, it's I haven't been able to stick to literally every day, but I try to.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Like keep going. And like I said to Natalie as well, like, you know, I'm sorry that I feel empathy that you went through this, you know, such a traumatic thing in your life. But I think it's cool that you've kind of like used the negative to do this kind of like positive like mission. And it seems like you're doing a really good thing, and kind of like you've been a really driving force in all this stuff. Like what I said, you're the reason that I saw the Kyro got the promotion thing. And like that helped me understand way more about what was going on. Totally.
That's awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. All right, everyone. Thank you for hanging out with us. And thank you, as always, to everyone who watches until the very end. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If